What is happening, y'all? It is Tuesday, September 5th, was just brought to my attention. It is 11:34 a.m. on this lovely, lovely Tuesday here in Los Angeles, California. I'm sipping this dark roast from Starbucks. For all you coffee snobs out there, Starbucks makes a good roast. Been approached to do my own roast, not gonna lie to you guys. Been approached to do my own coffee. I think it could be fun. I love coffee. Makes sense. We'll see how much work it requires, though. Man, finally, I've been complaining so much. I mean, if you follow me on Instagram, I think I've talked a little bit about it on here. Maybe not a ton. I've talked about my knee, how my knee always gives me problems.
No.
Really? Not on here?
Your back.
No. My back's fine. I'm like a fucking rhinoceros, my back. I'm good. I never have back problems. My lower back gets tight, but I've never had, like, spinal issues, knock on wood, like any structural issues.
When you're walking.
Oh, it gets tight? Yeah. Well, now, because I love to run, man. I love to run. I run long distance. Before my knee started flipping out, I was probably averaging, probably around 24 miles a week on the low end, 24 miles a week, 8 miles a day usually.
It sounds like a long, long time.
Yeah, but I love doing it, man. That's where, I do a lot of my stuff for comedy, or I listen to books on tape or other podcasts and get information. So I just pass time doing that. But my knee's been getting crazy. And so everyone's like, oh, you got to get different shoes. You got to try these shoes. So I've tried the Hokas or Hokas, whatever the hell they're called. I've done the Brooks. I've done New Balances. I've done Nikes, Asics. I've done every shoe you can imagine, and the knee's just not getting better. They're like, oh, it's your IT band. So I went and saw someone from IT band, stretched it out. Still, I was running yesterday and had to stop halfway through, just the knees. And then you talk to other people, like, you're just too big. You shouldn't be running long distance. You're simply too big to be running long distance. And so I told my brother, I'm like, God, and I hate going to the doctor. I fucking hate going to the doctor. As an athlete, it's the worst, man. It's always been that way. So finally, a bunch of people were like, oh, go see this person, go see this lady, go see this guy. And then now I'm going to see, I'm going to give her a shout out before I even see her. If it doesn't work out, it's going to really suck and roast her. But her name's Dr. Julia Moen. She's in Manhattan Beach. I guess she works with a lot of the U.S. soccer team.
Nice.
Peeps with knee problems, Manhattan. So I'm going to see her after this. Because my brother's like, I got an idea. How about you just stop fucking running, for God's sakes? I told him that's like telling Jon Jones stop taking steroids and fight. I gots to do it, man. I gots to do it.
Find a way.
I gots to do it. I just love running. So if she's like, hey, bro, you need to lose 40 pounds if you want to run, I'll lose 40 pounds. But I need a professional to tell me that. If she's like, hey, you have to lose 20, maybe not 40. That's right. I don't want to be 200 pounds. Yeah, I'd look like Matthew McConaughey on my deathbed. I'd look like Tom Hanks from Philadelphia. I don't want that. Anyways, if she's like, you need to lose 25 pounds to run long distance, I would lose 25 pounds.
That sounds good.
That's a lot of weight.
That's a lot of weight.
Because I'm not fat, You'd
be ripped.
Yeah, but not fun. It wouldn't be fun, I don't think. I don't know what to do. I'm hoping they have some answers. Or maybe she's like, oh, in a perfect world, she's like, let me just inject your knee with this fluid.
Perfect world.
Yeah, because then it's just, just done. Like, you just stick your knee, done.
Yeah.
Donezo.
Sounds like a temporary fix, though.
Yeah.
Well, what is an IT band?
IT band runs along, like here, it's always really tight. MJ, you probably know what IT band is, yeah? A little bit.
A little bit. It runs all the way from your ankle all the way up through your back. Usually you get a lot of tightness through it. So.
Yeah, I'm always real tight there.
I have no idea what IT band is.
Super tight there. So I always have to foam roll it out. But it's on the inside. And when I won the Ultimate Fighter, they said I had a partially torn meniscus. But I still went through the show and did my thing, but I've never got it addressed, but I've never had issues. And then my last camp, which was forever ago, 3 years ago, damn near 4 years ago, come up December 6th this year. But that camp against Brown, camp before Orlovsky, camp for that Mitrione, I ran like a motherfucker. Never had any issues. I don't know, man.
I messed up my thing once this, whatever the inside is, meniscus.
On your knee?
Yeah.
So it was ACL, PCL.
Whatever is the inside one. I think it was MCL.
Okay.
But I messed that up once, and it's never been the same. It hurts.
Do you have to do surgery or what?
I think if I have to really get it fixed, I would need surgery.
Did you mess it up dancing that boy band?
No.
I feel like there'd be a lot of knee injuries.
I didn't dance, though. I refused to dance. That was one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to get out.
Oh, because they wanted to stop, drop, and lock it. They wanted to, well, you're a boy band.
Yeah.
You got to do something. You just can't stand up there like a doo-wop band, for God's sakes.
So turned off by that, dude.
By the dancing?
Yeah.
Why? It's a performance.
I wanted to be like Boys to Men. Just kind of just sing and be cool.
Do your thing. Like look good.
Yeah,
you didn't want to.
No,
you didn't want to go Backstreet Boy.
Nope.
You wanted to go Boys to Men.
Like,
and so were the three of them like, "Yo, bro, here's the steps we're gonna do," and you're like, "Nah, man."
Yeah, I said no.
Were you embarrassed by it or?
Yeah. Just getting to know me, you know that I'm not someone that
kind
dances.
of out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, it's not my personality.
Did they ask you to frost your tips?
I think I did that voluntarily, anyways.
You kind of got it as a boy band.
Yeah.
Right.
I colored my hair before too.
What color?
Red. Just like a streak.
Oh, sick! Like Bang Rang Rufio from Hook. Bang Rang Rufio. No,
I don't know what that is.
Bang Rang Rufio. MJ, are you too young for that?
You passed 2 generations.
Oh fuck, man! Someone to get it out there. Robin Williams, Peter Pan, Bang Rang Rufio. I mean, if you type in Rufio, for God's sake, you
Bang Rang.
Well, Rufio Hook.
Rufio Hook.
Rufio from the movie Hook.
Like this.
I think. Then go Hook. Then go ahead.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, dude, and he's Asian
then go ahead
too.
and click on images, son. Go ahead and click on
he's
images.
Asian.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look at chin.
Yeah,
Bang Rang
I had
Rufio.
one somewhere.
Right?
Dude, that's a good comparison.
Right?
Yeah. Not bad
So that's
at all.
what you did as a boy band?
That was the one thing I did, yeah. I had a bunch of piercings too.
What?
Yeah.
Nose, ears?
The one right here.
Oh,
I forgot what it's called.
shit.
And then
the
all
lip pierce?
all over my ear. Like
Oh,
a
damn.
ton around my ear.
You were
Ears.
going through like a weird phase.
It's just back then that's what was cool.
Well,
Maybe not for you.
Like
but,
what back then? Like what year are we talking about?
early 2000s, I think.
Chin has a ton of layers to him. I had
2000s.
no fucking clue. You had your ears all pierced?
All pierced, both of them.
This really?
Yeah. It was just, you have to have like a kind of flashy, and I had bracelets. All the stuff that you guys don't like, I did. The bracelets, rings.
You did all of it.
Necklaces, yeah. We did all that stuff.
The whole band did.
We all had different things. So
Yeah, everyone has like their own shtick.
Yeah. But mine was like flashy.
Damn.
Because I'm so not flashy.
Is there any
that I needed
videos
to do that.
is there any videos out there?
There are some videos. We won like some competitions, and then they were on the internet for a while, but then they're gone now.
Oh fuck! There's nothing on YouTube.
I'm sure I can find something. I don't. If it's on YouTube, the quality's like at 10p.
Hey, bro, I'm not fucking Simon Cowell. I'm not trying to give you guys a contract. Let me see this chin.
But you can't even.
I know.
so
Let me just
blurry.
see. Just bring it up for me.
I don't know where it is now.
Well, what was the name of the band?
Verse.
We'll just go to YouTube and type
I
verse.
highly doubt it's
something. Oh my god, this
Highly
would
doubt
make my day. And then
How is this on Big Brown Breakdown?
Why not? Because this is life, man.
Verse singing? No, see?
Oh man.
No, it's a bunch of this guy.
Someone took
Jake
your name
Paul.
over. You guys clearly didn't copyright it.
I'll find it and I'll show you eventually.
Dear God, find that chin and put on Fighting the Kid tomorrow.
Maybe.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
How do we get all the way over here?
I don't know. There's so many layers to you, man. You had piercings.
Yeah.
You dyed your hair red. I mean,
Rufio.
shit. What was that 2 years ago? I dyed my hair platinum blue.
I remember.
You didn't know me then, though, huh?
No, but I watched the show before.
Yeah. When I walked out, I was like, "Oh, this is sweet." And then, in order to maintain that color and like sweetness, you got to like really take care of it. And I jumped in the pool, and it turned me into a straight towhead, and it was a terrible mistake. Took forever to come back to. I would never do that again.
Yeah, I think at a certain point, if you tried it once, you did it.
It's fun to
get it
mess
over with.
around,
Yeah.
but like girls can wear wigs.
Yeah. That girl that you like a lot, the black girl, big booty.
Nikki?
She's bald headed, but she put on a wig recently, and she made all these headlines.
Oh, you're talking about
Amber Rose.
Amber
Amber
Rose.
Rose. Yeah.
Yes,
She does it.
she does it. I mean, all of them. I mean,
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Shit, Kylie Jenner does it. the youngsters' savior. She had a thing on, my girl showed me she had a thing on her Snapchat. It was literally like closet twice as big as this, just full of wigs, colored wigs. She's killing the game.
I guess that's fine now, right? Girls can do it, no problem.
Wigs?
It's not taboo or anything anymore.
I don't think so. If you do it right, I suppose. But girls will hate on other girls if it looks bad. So.
Have you ever worn a wig, MJ?
No,
Are you wearing one right
wig.
now?
She's all this. Redhead, cornrows. What?
Alter ego.
You've never really rocked a wig?
No, never rocked. I've had extensions before. I don't think that counts. It's kind of weird though, having someone else's hair. But it's expensive. That's expensive upkeep.
Extensions
sure.
it's
like $1,000 minimum every couple months.
Jeez.
It's too much money.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, girls are expensive.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I wish I had a wig.
Oh man.
I wish Callan fucking had a wig. I would harass him all the time with it.
A mullet.
Oh my God. I just rip it off in the middle of his interviews and shit. Oh, I dream of that day. It's coming. It's coming. His hair's hanging on. His hair's hanging on. We got Chael Sonnen calling in today. I figured Chael was a perfect guest for today. I wanted him in studio, but couldn't make it happen because he's in Oregon where he lives. But I thought he was in town. He's not. So he's calling in, but I think he's the perfect guest just because with all the Jon Jones news going on, like it's tough to get a doctor on here who's going to be able to convey what's going on and also make it interesting. Because the doctors, and they're boring as fuck, and they're also they're not athletes, and they don't walk that line. They walk this crazy critical straight line over here, which isn't really what we do here at the Big Brown Breakdown. So Chael not only has walked that line, he's taken the same supplements down the line, and he's also PEDs, and he's also confessed to it. He has his freaking black belt in PEDs. He's Mr. PED, let's be honest. When you think PEDs,
probably those high profile.
Yeah, like there's Lance Armstrong for cycling. There's Chael Sonnen for UFC.
Yeah.
There's, for NFL it'd be Lyle Alzado. That's so old school. And
that is super old school, but yeah.
Him, I guess.
He was the face of steroids.
Steroids?
He was, I remember.
And then for baseball, there's Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire. Really Barry Bonds, let's be real. A-Rod, too. Baseball is just what they do.
Yep.
Track, there's, literally all of them are on it. You know what I'm saying? So Chael, if you think about it, that's, it's nothing against Chael. Then also have him discuss our bet. Right before the fight, I saw him on Media Row, and he was like, hey, did Matt come and take the $100,000 bet? I'm like, nope. So he was like, let's do it. All right, you got to pay me, Chael. Obviously, wasn't being serious, but he was dead serious, wanted to pay me. So we'll have him discuss what exactly happened there. But I just want him to come on to talk about what he thinks Jon was taking and what, kind of his expertise on that stuff. Because, again, it's all hearsay, but there's some big red flags. Like huge red flags, and then also his thoughts on where the UFC's at right now, the fight, the McGregor Mayweather fight, which he was there and he was super critical of, and then also the fights this weekend and what's going on with the UFC. He's still kind of the MMA UFC analyst for ESPN. He has his own podcast. Smart guy. I love Chael, man. Chael's on a show with Trump.
The Apprentice way back, right? He was
not
on
that long ago.
Yeah, not even that long ago.
Yeah,
actually.
Trump's last apprentice.
Yeah,
before he turned president. Yeah.
Was he on this? Was Trump on the show during that time? I forget, but he probably was, right?
No, you can't be on the show and run.
No. So he wasn't part of the show when Chael was on it.
No, he was.
Okay. See, I don't remember.
Me neither. I don't watch the show. I think he was. But it'd be good to get. Chael's a smart dude. He's one of the best analysts in the game, one of the brightest minds in the game. So having him on here is always fun. Yeah, man, be a fun one with Chael. So we'll see. He's calling from studio in Oregon. Then tonight, Comedy Store. It's Tony Hinchcliffe's last stop on his tour, the Monster Energy Drink Tour. He's been all around. Get how he does it. He's done 1 million cities. So Tony Hinchcliffe, and then you got Jeremiah Watkins, Joe Rogan, and myself on the lineup.
Cool.
So it should be a fun one, man.
Nice.
Yeah. Excited for that tonight. And then, that's that, my man. This weekend, I was listening to some other shows and just going through things, and I think it's so funny how it's weird. It's like yesterday on the Fighting Kid, I brought up UFC this weekend.
Yeah,
I can't tell you the numbers.
215,
215.
Yeah,
so UFC 215. That's and you got Mighty Mouse versus Ray Borg, and Mighty Mouse is setting the all-time defending world championship title record, and no one's talking about it. Yeah. And I listen to, if you're balls deep in MMA, people are a little bit up in arms about it. Like, how's it not even on ESPN at all? They have 60 minutes. They can't bring this up. But I feel like with that, there's obviously the blame's not on Mighty Mouse. He is what he is, and he's a brilliant talent. And it's not all on the UFC. It is a little bit, but I think it's a collective sum of everyone kind of dropping the ball. But it also has to do with Mighty Mouse just being a smaller fighter. Like in boxing, Lomachenko is pound for pound number one in the world. You got Chocolatito, was number one forever. He lost his last fight. They have a rematch, I think, this weekend or next weekend. But those are two of the best. They're tiny. Do you hear anything about those guys?
Not really.
Nothing. Name the most famous small guy. When I say small, 125.
Fighter?
Mm-hmm.
I would say Ian before.
Ian who?
Ian McCall before.
Jesus Christ, Jim.
I would have said that.
Wow.
Which is, I don't know.
Maybe
because
you're
I'm
just
just
saying
more
that
familiar with them.
But you know what I'm saying? The small guys just don't translate to the masses. It's just the culture we live in. I don't think has anything to do with the UFC not promoting DJ. Well, could they have done a better job? Yes. But also, if I'm the UFC and I only have so much bandwidth to promote people, history shows that promoting the small guys doesn't pay off. So that's why you get this. So they tried giving him a bigger fight in TJ Dillashaw. He turned it down because he wants to defend this title, So that was their push to try and get him to that next level. But it's just, these media outlets are complaining, MMA media outlets, not the mainstream. Most of them don't know who Mighty Mouse is. But Mighty Mouse, a great guy. He's the champ you want. He's the guy you could have your son look up to, like, that's how you want to fight. That's how you want to act outside the cage. That doesn't get ratings. It just doesn't. Jon Jones failing a drug test is going to get way more clicks than Mighty Mouse defending the belt. Not even close. If there's some news about Jon, his suspension, something of that sort, it's going to get way more clicks than if, let's say, Mighty Mouse knocks him out in 30 seconds. Mighty Mouse knocks him out in 30 seconds, it might make ESPN. But just, it's the culture we live in where small guys just don't get the recognition. They never have. I guess you could say the most famous small guy of all time is Uriah Faber.
There you go. Yeah.
Right?
And he is above, 145, 135?
He's 145.
Yeah. So, a little bigger of the smaller guys, too.
But then go up to, show me Uriah Faber's, how many pay-per-views has he been on? And he's been the main event of which ones? WC, he was always the poster boy. Mm-hmm. What's his biggest pay-per-view draw? And this is Uriah Faber, the California Kid. So go Uriah Faber pay-per-view draw. Google that. What comes up? You know what I'm saying? It's again, if you're putting energy and money and resources into marketing someone, the smaller weights just aren't gonna. No, that's Uriah Faber talking about it. No.
I think since he did that one recent thing, it's just going to show that stuff, the 6.5 billion.
So UFC Aldo versus Faber. Ranking the top UFC pay-per-view draws of all time. Click on that for me.
Conor McGregor.
Well, obviously. Keep scrolling down. Do they give a list? Not really. Oh, there you go. What the fuck is that? So here are the top 20 scores in UFC history, a percentage over rolling average for shows their fighters appeared on.
When was Uriah Faber even on a?
He was on a bunch of pay-per-views, but
not a main though, right?
You say not the main event?
Yeah.
Go to his Wikipedia. Because when he fought Aldo, he's the main event, right? Mm. And then when he fought Cruz, because if you look at because when he fights in Sacramento, they really don't. So no. Oh, so fight nights, he's the main event, but you're not gonna get pay-per-view for those.
Dominic Cruz, 199.
Were they the? Nope.
He was the
co-main. Rockhold, yeah. So they're never the main event again.
Yeah.
And it's not a knock on Cruz or Uriah Faber. The smaller guys are never the draw. But I see all this kind of complaining how,
there we are.
They're not getting enough attention. So there we are when he fought Barao, Faber Barao. Does it say how many pay-per-view buys that did?
Nope. UFC 169, right?
I can't imagine that did very well. Although you had Overeem Mayer on there.
230,000.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So I get it, man. It's a bummer because Demetrius Johnson's such a talent, and he's so talented. He's crazy, man. You're talking about the most championship belts ever defended. We just don't care. Society just doesn't care.
Because he's small.
Because he's small. The guys he's fighting, the level of competition. I would say you and Brian are casual fans, right? You're a little more than a casual fan. You work here, so you know more. Brian's a casual fan. Brian knows MMA. He knows the guys. He probably jacks off to some of their Instagrams at home. He knows MMA. He had no idea Mighty Mouse was fighting or they defending the belt.
Neither did I. And this is the only sport that I really love, so that's pretty.
It's crazy, right?
Crazy, yeah.
I thought it was next weekend. I remember Joe talking about it because originally he wasn't supposed to commentate on it, but he had a show in Edmonton, and then there's 2 championship fights, so then they asked him to do it. And I was like, oh, that's next weekend because we're actually going to do a fight companion for it on Saturday, but we're not going to anymore. And I didn't know. I think it's a number of things. I think it's the kind of the super high of the McGregor Floyd, kind of the aftermath of that, and then you come with this card.
And I don't see any commercials. I see 0.
And when you do, they still have Francis Gano versus JDS on there, which is an issue. Because you turn on that, you think you're getting those guys, and then you got nothing, you're going to be pissed.
I thought I would at least see Shevchenko, Nunes on some sort of commercials, and DJ and Borg. I saw 0. So
it's an interesting play because the UFC goes, all right, this prize isn't going to be a big draw. Do we try to get a few more buys out of it and market them so it pays off down the road, or we just back off? And the trend I see with them is if they're already not a draw, they go, we're not doing anything.
They don't want to waste any more money on it, right?
It is what it is. They're as big as they're going to get, and they just back off. Which I don't know if that's the play because, again, I think Amanda Nunes, you got a real shot at someone doing some real, I think, is she going to be the next Ronda Rousey? No. She doesn't have that it factor. But what she does have is a couple of other outliers, such as the gay community. It's a phenomenal love story. She's beat some amazing girls. She has potential, especially if she gets by Shevchenko to set the record, to beat Ronda's record for most title defenses in the women's division. So there's stories there. But when do you allocate funds to her marketing? Do you wait down the road? But we've seen how this works out. You're kind of stuck without any stars right now, which is why this isn't a draw. So with her, it's a different story. I feel like they should definitely put some more marketing eyeballs on her and definitely get that ball rolling with her. But, maybe they have a plan. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they're just like, listen, man, we need to do something to get these numbers up so we can sell this bitch or make more money. When you have CM Punk fight, what's Brock Lesnar doing? What we're going to do with Conor Nate, Maybe they're just focused on those huge paydays.
Maybe. Because I don't see anything about this stuff.
Nothing, right?
No.
I know it's a bummer. Should we call our boy? Take a break?
Sounds good.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the one and only. I mean, you guys see him all over. Chael Sonnen calling in from beautiful Oregon. What's going on, Chael?
Tell him, Brendan. Tell him, man. It's beautiful. We got a fire going on out here. I walked out of my house today. There was so much soot and smoke. I had to jump back in the house and close the door and get a deep breath and go, what is going on? Something caught fire, some little forest we've got. The whole you can't see 10 feet out here right now.
Damn, we have the worst fire in Los Angeles history going on right now. But in Oregon, isn't it wet out there?
Don't try to one-up me with your fire stories. All right, we're burning out here in Oregon. Yeah, it's summertime, and we only get about 8 weeks of real summer. It kind of rains the rest of the year, so we just enjoy it so much. And when we break 100, which is, again, you could count that on one hand how many times we do that, but when we break 100, we're in jeopardy. Something bad always happens.
That place sets on fire if it gets over 100, huh?
Pretty much. I mean, everything dries out. I think this was a case of I heard that there's some teenagers with some fireworks or something. So I guess that could happen anytime. But we're so wet so often that fire isn't really a big concern we have. So then when it does happen, we're not totally prepared for it. Hence today.
So what's going on with you, man? We obviously I saw you for a split second out with the Mayweather-McGregor stuff. Working. Who were you out there for? ESPN.
I was with ESPN, and to tell you a compliment, you and Paulie, I love it. I think that's so great, and I really respect what Paulie does, because I know Paulie, he's got to pine for his own fight. He's got his own career. He's even got some guys that he's got problems with, but then he does switch. When that camera goes on and he's representing Showtime, I feel like he calls it very fair. I really do.
Yeah, he's one of the best in the business. What was your, I'm sure you talked about, so have I, but what was your whole takeaway from that McGregor-Mayweather kind of fight and being around it? Because I think it was different when you're there in person,
Yeah, fully. I was a supporter of this fight from the beginning, and all the things that the naysayers were saying, I thought were good. This is a circus. Yeah, but circuses are fun. Oh, this fight doesn't make any sense. Well, yeah, crazy fight, every 10 years. That's fun. And historically, we do something crazy about every decade. So I was on board from the jump, but I will tell you, I thought this was a one-round situation. I thought that a guy that's never lost at it is going to go out and destroy a guy that's never done it. I was blown away. If I put myself in Conor's shoes, how would I do with a boxer my size that's the world champion? Man, I'm not getting out of the first round.
Yep.
And, Conor went out there, and sure, he got tired and all of those things. But a half hour later, he went and never once fell down. It was amazing. I thought the whole thing was amazing. And to your point about being there live, I felt very privileged to get to be there. I had great seats. I got to be part of the energy. I took my mom. It was her birthday present. She said, all I want is to be there. Yeah, she didn't even know she could get a ticket. Dana ended up hooking her up with a ticket, but she just wanted to be in Vegas and be part of the atmosphere. And it really is. Did you stay at the MGM, for example?
I stayed, at the MGM, the Signature Towers. Not the actual MGM, but those Signature Towers.
All right, so I was at the original MGM. Right when you walk into the lot, boom, they got a ring set up. They got these guys' faces everywhere. Fans are surrounding it and taking pictures for keepsakes. But that's part of the energy, and a lot of people won't understand this if they didn't get to go. But, you land and the airport's decorated. The Cavs are all decorated. Mayweather-McGregor. Brandon, I can't remember a fight, even in MMA, and I'm sure it's happened, but I can't remember one, where guys like you and I, 2 weeks after the goddamn fight, are still talking about the fight. That's something special, and we're not making fun of it. We're not saying, yeah, what a joke, what a blah, blah. We're praising the fight. I can't remember two guys like us 2 weeks later still talking about it. It was that great. And I got another week in me. I'm still not done with what was going on with this fight.
I'm
not. I thought that I think Conor just deserves so much credit. So many people were giving it to him because of what he pulled off and financially made. But after the fact, we really found out, no, this was serious. This is a guy, he's making money, but this is a man of honor. This is a man of pride, of ego that went out there, put it all on the line, and a half hour later finally got beat. Come on, man. That's amazing.
I agree, brother. I think it's a win-win for boxing and for mixed martial arts. I think it was the perfect case scenario. Obviously, if Conor could have landed a big shot and put him down, things would have been better. But you look at how this thing played out. Boxing was represented well by Mayweather. And then Conor, for a guy who's 0-0 against the best of all time, he didn't make MMA look bad in any facet. So I think coming out of this, Conor's a way bigger star, obviously the biggest star in mixed martial arts history. And then, Floyd gets his record, rides off in the sunset. And, I just feel like there was there wasn't a loser overall in this fight.
You want to know who the loser was? Is Oscar De La Hoya. What a dick. And,
yes.
And it's like, Oscar, you're missing the point here. There are no lines drawn. I can remember, Brendan, way back in the 90s, maybe early 2000s, we all thought, okay, we got to be in a category. We can be pro wrestling fans, or we can be MMA fans, or we can be boxing fans. And then what we found out in a short period of time was, no, we can watch them all. We can like everything. And I feel like Oscar's missing that. Hey, Oscar, we're all going to watch Canelo and Triple G. You don't have to worry. It's an awesome fight. You've done a great job promoting it. We're on board. But you can also come watch this fight, which is Conor and McGregor, and we can all be on board. Quit drawing the lines between us. That ended almost 15 years ago.
But I think with him doing that, if anything, he's hurting the fight because you have the biggest fight of all time with Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. And my whole thing with this, and my pitch to Showtime where I wanted to be part of the actual broadcast and have MMA voice, because I said, the reason why this will be the biggest pay-per-view of all time, boxing, it's old school and you guys are going to do well. And I think the pay-per-view would still done really well without the MMA fans, but you're going to break history with the MMA fans. And so I think those MMA fans who really weren't up to, or maybe had the old school way of thinking, going, all right, I either like MMA or boxing. No, you can like both. It's like football, basketball. You don't have to pick one. You can watch both, for Christ's sakes. So I think you're going to get some kind of follow through where people go, all right, maybe I am into boxing. Let's watch this Canelo Triple G. It's supposed to be the best fight of the year. But when you have freaking, Oscar De La Hoya hating on everyone and hating on this, they're going, forget that, man. So I think he's only going to hurt that big fight for him. I think it's a bad idea what he's doing.
I fully agree with you. And when he did it ahead of time, I kind of got it. It's like, okay, even if you're being a dick, let's take your words out of it. They're making headlines, and that is your goal as a promoter, to just stay in the news, okay, I kind of get this strategy. But then when it was done, and he was still saying things like, okay, now that the joke is over, we can get back to boxing, let MMA go over here and let us focus on this. Like, oh, no, Oscar, now you're missing the point. Bring everybody, right? Do what you just said, Brendan. Bring everybody to the party.
Did you hear us? Did you hear your boy Bob Arum today?
No, what'd he say?
Oh my God. He goes, there's only one enemy for boxing, and it's the UFC and Dana White. We all got to band together and get those guys out of here and get back to traditional boxing.
Yeah, I don't love that. I don't get it because he is wrong. And, the old expression, if you can't beat them, join them. It's the first rule in politics. You never punch down. You only punch up. So, yeah, don't try to get rid of any of us, man. Try to bring us all over. And you will win with me. And I know a lot of people are like me. If something is built up and it's exciting and it's combat and I get it, I'm in. So, don't exclude me, Bob and Oscar and people like me. Include us. We want to be included. And it's a fun event. You got a great match coming up, and we're on board, but you're pushing me away. I don't want to be pushed away. I want to be invited.
I agree. And, Bob, you're 100 years old. For sure, get with the times. For sure, get with the times. You're 100 years old. It's like, oh, what are these kids doing these days in that octagon? It's like, you idiot. It's a legit sport now. And again, it's such a bad idea to draw that line and force people to choose. Because, they're stars. Yeah. With the UFC and boxing, it's very similar. On average, we do better as far as ratings, stuff like that. But when it comes to pay-per-view, they're very similar, and you have to have stars to get pay-per-view ratings. You just have to. It's not a league. It's not the NFL where, no matter who's playing, you're going to get good ratings. You legit have to have a superstar to get big pay-per-view buys. You just do. That's the world we live in.
Yeah. And I think that Bob's a little bit sincere. I think he's just wrong in this case. Oscar wasn't sincere at all. Oscar tried to get the Mayweather fight, but when his hand wasn't in the pot anymore, that's when he turned on it. I think that Bob is just wrong. To your point, I think it's an age thing. Maybe he's a little bit more stubborn. Oscar's was just pure a money grab, and then he was a little brat when he didn't get to come to the table. It's like, come on. I kind of liked what Dana White said, where he goes, hey, watch our fight. I'm coming to your fight. I'm buying my own ticket. I'm coming. Dana really is just such a fan. He loves boxing. I think he loves boxing more than he loves MMA, and I think that's okay. But it's like, come on, man.
Dana
is right on this one.
Dana also retweeted him and put, Jesus, this guy back on a Coke binge? What's his deal? You know? Which is hilarious. Such a low blow to De La Hoya.
Yeah, but I mean, enough's enough. It was a low blow, but at the same time, I mean, he's out there trying to bury it. It's like, hey, we're all in this together. Like it or not, there is competition. We're all in it together. We selected the right dates. They're not the same as your dates. Come on, help us out, man. We're going to help you out.
I agree, man. Obviously, you've been very outspoken about, I talk about stars, and in transition from this Conor McGregor fight, not only for boxing, but for the UFC is huge. And it's what do they do next? And again, it's a star-driven league. And our biggest star, not named Conor McGregor, Jon Jones, right? I think it was perfect time for the news about him flagging, pissing hot, was to come out the week of, because we're like, all right, put that on hold for now. Let's deal with this Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight. We've been waiting for this for a long time. That fight ends, and now kind of our attention is towards Jon now. And I think with Jon being out and kind of his future up in the air, I feel like the real winner here is, again, Conor, because now he's by far the biggest star. There's not another guy in the same hemisphere as him, not even close. But the next guy from that list, obviously Ronda Rousey's out. Obviously Brock Lesnar's out. So you have Jon. He just beat DC. He has a great comeback story. Pisses hot. So now what do? You know what I'm saying? If you're the UFC, I was so upset when this news came out, Chael. I thought it was fake news. Rogan texted to me, and I was working for Showtime, and I text Rogan back. I put, ha, very funny. He goes, no, that's real. I'm like, no way. There's no way he's that stupid. And there's all this. I had this guy who, he doesn't want me to give out his alias or anything like that, but he's pretty hands-on when it comes to PEDs and stuff like that. And he gave me this whole list on why Jon took it and all this info. And I've tried to kind of get that out to the fans and what I think about it. But no one actually knows. But when the reason why I really wanted you on is because I could have a doctor on the show, but it's going to be boring as hell, and we're not going to understand what the hell he's talking about. But you're a guy who, for lack of better words, you've kind of walked this line. You know what I'm saying? You've done stuff, and you've been outspoken about it, and you're kind of on the forefront of it, and you're very open and honest about it. And I think there's no better time to have someone discuss it, and why you're not out there more on ESPN and stuff like that. I don't know, but I just want your thoughts on Jon and Torrena Ball and all that bullshit that comes with it, and really from I almost want to say an expert as far as PEDs goes.
Yeah, so let me say it like this, and I am an expert, and largely for all the wrong reasons, but an expert nonetheless. and Brandon, you're right. If you had a doctor on and he started talking metabolites and breakdowns and half-lives, everybody's lost. Everybody's completely confused. So I'm going to try to dumb this down for the layman, but here's the deal from the beginning. If I'm even saying it right, Trenabol. I would hit Trenabol as probably number 8 on the list of good things that an athlete could take. And I think a lot of fans are going to go, well, 8, that's pretty good. Well, not so fast. There's only about 10 things on that list. And Trenabol, you'd essentially have to go to a museum to find it. It's what the 1972 female German swim team was taking when they broke all the records and won all those medals. Now, they were pretty open to say what they were taking because it wasn't against the rules. There was no drug testing back in 1972. The word steroids had not come out yet. So for them to come out and say, yeah, we found something that we've been injecting and it's making our athletes better, was not something they had to shy away from back then. But to put it in perspective for you, that's how long ago this drug came out. And so it was a little bit confusing to a lot of people. First off, how did he even find something like this? And 2, why would he take it? Well, to answer those questions, it's very hard to find. And the science on it and their ability to catch it is rapidly speeding up, but it's still one of these substances that can be out of your system and usually is out of your system within 18 hours. And USADA doesn't have a whole lot of rules. That's why they're so effective. They can come anytime, but they don't come twice in the same day. And, so you start to learn that. So if say you get tested at 6 in the morning, you've got at least a 24-hour clearance before you're going to see them again. So when you have some kind of a supplement or substance that's out in a maximum of 18 hours, you've got a bit of a window there. So that's what would lead him, in my opinion, psychologically down that path. Like, okay, yeah, this isn't one of the great ones, but it's one I can get away with, and it still's pretty damn good. It was good enough to win a bunch of medals for the Germans, even if it was in the 70s. It did help. So I'm guessing, but psychologically, I think that's probably how he fell down that rabbit hole. And this isn't the first time that supplement, has been found at that gym. It's the same thing that Frank got hit on. And I can tell you again from experience, usually it does kind of go around a gym. Or even when Anderson went down, Fejao had gone down too, and they had another team member, all three of them, and all three, it was the same substance. So my speculation there is based around history, and I think that's what happened. There was some reports that came out from California itself, from the executive director, Andy Foster, and he said, man, this thing's really confusing because he failed in blood, but he passed urine. And blood is so much more sophisticated. And it's like, yes, that is what people technically think. However, there are some substances that are only found in urine or only found in blood, which is why they take both. And in this case, this one is only found in urine. So you could do a simultaneous test of blood and urine, pass one, fail the other, and still there's no foul play or even room for confusion once it's explained to you. And I don't think it had been explained to California yet. Don't forget, California, even though they do drug testing, that isn't their primary concern. Their primary job is administration. So drug testing is a little bit more unique, and even an expert like Andy Foster would have to have somebody sit down and talk to him and explain why one popped and one didn't. And once they do, he'll go, oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. And I saw, maybe it was on Ariel Helwani's show, MMA Hour, you said typically if you're doing something like this, they probably miss the good shit. Is that right? Because this is such an old school kind of thing. Like I told when Joe Rogan and I did the Fight Companion, and I was basing off your interview with Ariel, I said, if you're going to jump into sports cars, you're not just going to go buy a 64 Daytona Ferrari. You're going to start with some other stuff and eventually get there.
Yeah, and that, again, in fairness, you and I are speculating a little bit. I can just tell you, for me, if I was to take Trenibol, I'm taking it in what's called a stack, meaning I'm taking other things with it. The other things are going to be a little bit better, a little bit designer, a little bit more expensive, a little bit harder to find. That's speculation, but if I was to put myself in his shoes, and isn't that the golden rule? You put yourself in someone else's shoes. That's how I would have done it. And I don't know anybody that's ever done Trenibol, even the kids that come out on the internet and are speculating and talking about it. They all say the same thing, unanimously. They all say, yes, you take that in a stack. But, Brennan, I was saying this, go way back to the cocaine bust. I was coming on going, guys, let's just be real fair here. If you're going to take cocaine, that's the top of the mountain, okay? That's the home plate right there is cocaine. If you're going to take cocaine, which can kill you, which can overdose you, which can land you in prison, it is very hard for me to believe that you're not going to take things that can help you, that are performance enhancers.
Agree.
That you're going to round the bases, plate 1, plate 2, plate 3 before you get to a home run.
I agree.
It was speculation, but history went on to prove I was correct in that speculation. If you're going to take something that's illegal and can kill you, of course you're going to take legal things that can help you, and it turned out he was.
I agree. If you're kind of that wildcat who's going to try out certain things, I don't think you stop when someone goes, you could hit way harder if you took this. Nah, listen, man, I got morals. No. If you're going to do some of this, you're going to dabble in some of that. I think what else is interesting is when the dick pill stuff came out. And again, Rogan and I were talking about this. He goes, you don't think he just, hooks up with a lot of girls and is taking dick pills because he does coke? And I went, from my experience and knowing guys that take certain stuff, that's usually a post-cycle recovery substance. That you're usually doing something before, and the stuff you tested positive for, you're doing it to recover from some sort of stack.
That's exactly right. And to remind you of the name of that substance, it was clomiphene.
Yep.
I have taken clomiphene, and I can tell you it's very expensive. So to take clomiphene, I always had a problem with the tainted supplement, and this doesn't disprove that there is tainted supplements, but again, along the line of speculation and just fairness, clomiphene is very expensive. Let's say it's $100. Well, the dick pill that he was taking was about $4. So why somebody would put a $100 supplement in a $4 pill, I don't understand. But there I could be missing something. Maybe there is a reason that happens. The same thing goes with this Trenibol. That's a little bit more difficult to get, and it's even illegal. And this is relevant for listeners because they go, well, yeah, of course it's illegal. That's why he's flagged. No. I don't mean against the rule of sport illegal. it's against the law. If you're caught with Trenbol, they will put you in handcuffs. You cannot be in possession of it. So you're talking about something that has it's very expensive to get anytime you're dealing with black market. So now you're talking about, again, $100 substance, put in a $10 thing of protein powder. That's a tough sell for me.
Me too, brother. And the thing is with that Trenbol, it's very hard to get. It's not something you just stumble upon either.
No.
It's very hard to get on the black market. And my other issue with Jon, and I've been a huge Jon advocate. He's been on my pound for pound #1 list for a long time. Obviously this taints it, but listen, how many breaks are we going to give him, or how many excuses are we going to give him when you fail 3 out of 4 with USADA? Something's going on here. There can't always be tainted supplements. They can't always be, I messed up, I took this, or I did this, my bad here,
Yeah, and there's a lot of problems there. Even with Jon is real good at documenting his crime, and it falls over most people, but not a smart mark like me. I'm taking one look and go, Jon, I know what's going on here. Brandon, what I mean is he likes to take before and after pictures, before training camp and after. Before he's a little pudgy and he's soft and then he goes into training camp and it's like Popeye ate the spinach and he comes out looking all different. It's like, Jon, it doesn't work that way. You're not taking before and after training camp pictures. You're taking before and after cycle pictures. I know the difference. There's a lot of people like me there's a lot of people you're going to fool, but people like me know what you're doing, and you're documenting this. There's a reason your body looks significantly different at the weigh-ins versus DC than it did at the weigh-ins versus OSP. There's also a reason your performance was so much different.
Correct.
And that's all speculation. You can speculate all you want, but now we've got the science. We have the test. The gig is up.
So what do you think happens with Jon? What do you think down the road happens here?
Okay, so again, I'm going to condescend to you, but just to lay this out for the listeners, it was originally reported that Jon is facing a minimum of 4 years. Oof. That was misreported. It's actually a ceiling. A maximum of 4 years is on the table. He's facing a floor or a minimum of 2 years. So we know it's somewhere between 2 and 4. Yikes. They have the option to do a lifetime ban. If you look at California and you look at their history, I think we can reasonably take that off the table. I don't think they're going to do that. I think that somewhere between the 2 and 4, well, we know it's between 2 and 4. I've had a lot in my guess. I'm guessing for you right now. I think we're probably going to fall at about 3 years. And don't forget, Brendan, he's got to fight this on 2 fronts. He's got to deal with the California State Athletic Commission, and then he also has to deal with USADA. And they don't have to be they don't have to be hand in hand. Whichever one is greater is what he's going to have to serve. If California gives him 2 years, USADA gives him 4, well, he's out for 4.
Yep.
And I think it's a fair guess to say it'll probably be 3 years. When California gets the information and starts to understand what happened here, they're going to be pissed. And one thing about California, they make their own decisions. You don't influence them through a backdoor phone call or a friend of the governor that trickles down. Man, they're very straight, and they're going to make this decision on their own, and they're going to be pissed. Now, I think that 2 years shows that you're pretty upset. I don't think that you need to go further than that, but I kind of think they will. I think he's probably looking at 3. And you can bet your ass USADA is going to be mad. And USADA does not like being lied to. If you come in with the whole, hey, silly me, I don't know how this happened.
No.
I had an illegal, expensive designer drug in my system, and I don't know how. They might let you slide once, but this is twice. Silly me, oops, works.
Yeah, I think
one time.
I think his history is going to screw him in this. I think they're going to make an example out of him. He's a huge star. He's lied to him before. 3 out of 4, they're like, all right, no. We're not playing this game anymore. I think he gets, at the very minimum, 3 years. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 4 at all. If I saw 4, I'd go, that makes sense.
Yeah, and politics do matter in a situation like this. You are dealing with a government entity here, and I don't know the politics are on his side. First off, there's no huge fight that anyone's clamoring for him to come back for. It's just him and D.C. That division has to rebuild. So right there, you can take the business side out of it, at least a little bit. And I don't think his comments about Dana White leading into his last fight were very helpful or nice. No. And this is a time where you could really use a friend in the right position, and I'm just not sure he's got them.
And what were those comments to let the audience know, Chael?
He wasn't speaking to Dana, and Dana had said that, hey, I haven't spoken to Jon Jones since his last failed. And Jon, for whatever reason, felt that it was important that he came out and corrected the record by saying, yes, but that's my choice. Dana's contacted me 4 times, and I refused to speak to him. Ari Emanuel is the boss of the UFC. I look at Dana as a mouthpiece. And it's like, whoa,
yikes.
Careful there. That's the president, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, yikes. It's not good form.
Oh my God. What a tragedy, man. And the other thing that bothered me about this whole situation is, well, I should say a few things. One, Jon's consistently good at a few things, and that would be beating people up in the octagon and letting us down. He's always consistent with those two things. He always has been. The other is there's the money he left on the table and the magnitude of fights that are not happening now. When you look at, they wanted to fight Stipe in Detroit as a main event, Dana talked about. Then after that, in mid 2018, they wanted to fight Lesnar once Lesnar makes his octagon comeback. So he's going to be heavyweight champion, man. Light heavyweight champion, probably potential to be, right next to Conor for superstardom, and just all that's out the window, man. It's such a sad, sad story to me. And then here's the other thing. What about DC? What's DC's career tainted? Like the guy's only lost to Jon, but that's how people remember him, and no one gives DC any credit. Although, is he pound for pound number one? If you look at the things he's done, is he one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time? When you look at his resume and fighting a Jon Jones and losing to him twice, it screws DC over as well, which really sucks if you're Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, Cormier will always be looked at as the champion who wasn't the best.
Yep.
And it's not fair. It's really important to look at it in the confines of they had an agreed-upon rule set, and not just the unified rules that I'm referring to or the weight class that they agreed upon. It was also the testing, and everybody had to come in under the agreed rule set, which only one of them did, which was Daniel. So he followed the rules. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in the playground or you're in the octagon. If the rules aren't followed, the team that violated them loses. And that's the way sport has always been set up. But perception will matter, and that is how Daniel will be looked at, for better or worse, and it's definitely worse. It's not fair. It's not right. But that's the way it is. And, I am with you that I have Jon as the pound-for-pound best as well, without an argument. I don't know how people do argue that, but it has to be like Barry Bonds with the asterisks, where you go, yeah, I do think you could have won it anyway, but you didn't try, so I don't actually know. And it's got to taint him. And it does surprise me in the world of PR. Daniel comes out getting teased. Jon comes out as the victim, and I kind of am left scratching my head going, well, how did this happen?
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to me. And with Jon, you got to wonder, man. You got to wonder has he been doing this his entire career? Because again, from my sports background and history I've had in sports, typically, if someone was willing to do this at this stage in their career, God, I got to believe in previous contests, they were probably on something. And I hate to throw them under the bus like that and assume this stuff, but in my experience, man, it's typically true that if someone's willing to take that risk at this stage and the magnitude of this fight and USADA and all that, they were probably doing stuff previously.
Yeah, and whether that's right or wrong, that's the way the story has to be written. And again, I'll just tell you from my own standpoint, I know exactly the day I went to the dark side, but I would never use that. It's like, nope. Once you get hit, it runs the clock back to the beginning. I started competing when I was 9 years old, and everything is fair game. And that's just the way it has to be. You're going to do the crime. You got to be willing to do the time. And that's the way it has to be. And anybody that tried to defend me, I'd always stop them and go, no. It's all on the table now. Everything is up for grabs. Every win, every opportunity, they're all up for grabs now. That's just the way it has to be. And, I think it's an opportunity for Jon also to. Could you imagine, Brendan? This will never happen. Could you imagine if he goes, yeah, I did it, and here's why, and maybe he just tells us the truth. Maybe we like it or don't. It was a psychological thing, or these guys gave it to me, or I entrusted, or I was nervous, or I was scared, or just all these. You know what? I've been taking it my whole career, and the fear of not having it, and I took the risk, and I got busted. It would. I mean, yeah, there's going to be a storm, but boy, it will go away a lot quicker, in my opinion, than dragging this out and always being the victim. And that victim status, man, it's like, Jon, you got to stop. You're the baddest dude in the world. You're
Correct.
The toughest guy walking the planet. You got to be the toughest guy on this too. You got to have thick skin and wear it.
I think if he came out clean too, it would put an end to all the stipulation, all the assumptions. Because, man, if you let me sit back and I can make up these stories in my mind and stuff he's done and previous fights he won and all this stuff, it turns him into this complete monster. Where if he just came out and was like, listen, here's what happened. 2 years ago, I got injured. I was not, I don't know what his story is. But if he just came clean, it's going to make him look so much better. It's not even funny. And I don't know who's in his ear, whoever his PR guy is, but they got to do a better job, man. Because, again, you're right. When he goes, I'm the victim here. Yeah, I ran into that lady, but help me. Look at me over here. Like, I know she's hurt, but I ran away, and look at all I've lost. It's like, what? How the hell are we turning this around feeling sorry for you? And I'm sick of that with Jon. But, let me ask you this, Chael. And looking at Jon, I look at him and in his skill set, I go, why in the world would a guy ever do that? Why in the hell would he do PEDs? And I think you're the perfect guy to comment on this. Why did you do it, Chael? What went through your mind?
Yeah.
Because and I've trained with you, and I've obviously seen your fights. You're a monster, man. You have skills. Why were you so enticed to do it?
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, and it's a character flaw, but here's the straight answer. It was a very easy decision for me to make. So I had my own code, which was I'll never take any steroids and I'll never take anything illegal. But if a doctor will give it to me, if it's prescribed legal medication and I go to the pharmacy and I take it above board, the same as I would anything else, that's good enough for me. To hell with what the rules say, if I could get a doctor to call it medicine, and it's going to help me, I'm in. And Brent, I'll tell you, I've never had a drop of alcohol in my life. I've actually never taken a steroid. I've never even been accused of steroids. But when you take a PED, in the media's perception, it is steroids. So I just steered into it. I always use that word too. I took steroids and blah, blah, blah. I've actually never taken a steroid. I've never even been accused of it. But I took things on the banned list, and I knew they were on the banned list. So that's bad too, right? It was intentional. I was trying to get away with something. And how I got to that conclusion, it was easy. Now, in hindsight, I'm very ashamed of it. But just to answer your question, on the day when somebody you look up to and they grab you and they say, hey, this will help, and you've got an appointment with this doctor, and, go in and get your script, man, that was easy. Okay, no problem. Put it in my calendar, popped into the doctor, got it, took it, the end.
And did you feel like a different fighter? Did you feel like it made you who you are?
No, I didn't feel any different, but I did when I quit taking it. So it definitely helped. Like, I'll hear guys say, well, yeah, but that didn't enhance my performance. Well, for me, it did. I can tell you, for me, it did. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't feel, stronger, feel like I recovered faster, things like that you'll hear. But when I stopped taking them, I did feel it. I felt I aged real quickly, and all of a sudden, my back hurts, and my arm hurts, and now I need 2 days off instead of one, and I felt it in that regard. At the time, no, I never felt like Superman or this is helping me, or I just knew I was supposed to take, 0.5 of this every Monday and every Thursday, and that was all I did. But when I stopped, yeah, man, I did feel it.
And when you say you never took a steroid, obviously you do steer right into this whole allegation thing in steroids, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but you were prescribed testosterone because they found low T in your blood system. Is that right? Is that correct?
Yeah, and testosterone is an anabolic. So if you were to get technical on me there, then I did. Perhaps I should clarify. When I was growing up, Brennan, we had to take classes in school. And then when I went into college and I was a scholarship Division I athlete, we had to take special classes all about steroids. And what steroids meant, so what I mean when I say it to you, steroids were always something illegal. You were buying them in an alley out of a bag, and you were taking it, and it was muscle and all this stuff. Somewhere over time, they kind of did away with the word steroids, and it became performance-enhancing drug. That one was a little bit tougher for me, and still is, because every drug, if you mean medicine, has to enhance you. If it doesn't enhance you, the FDA won't approve it. A doctor prescribes something to dehance you, that would be malpractice. So I never liked it when they went to that direction, where they said, well, if it's a performance enhancer, like, well, hold on, you got to have medicines, and then you got to have steroids. I know that's true because I took all of these classes, and that's the way that it was. So I think if I was to clarify, maybe those words would be a little bit better. I never took anything illegal. I never took any steroids. If you wanted to bring testosterone into that, then, I guess you'd have to check my definition, because it is anabolic. So it would fall under that category. But those rules were different back then. You remember the testosterone era. All you had to do was disclose it, get your TUE, and everything was fine. When that went away, then it started looking like this black eye. But it wasn't at the time. It was well within the rules.
Yeah, I knew several guys who were doing it. A lot of guys I trained with were doing it. And to be honest, we didn't look at it like it was steroids, to kind of piggyback on what you're saying. I didn't look at guys and go, oh my God, he's on PEDs or he's taking Barry Bonds steroids. I was like, oh, he has low testosterone. He's going to a doctor. It'd be the same as if he was balding, he was getting prescribed Propecia. That's the way I looked at it. I didn't look at it like they're getting this huge advantage. I looked at it like, oh, they're taking that so they can compete in the UFC because they were at this level from all the years of training. They don't have the same energy. So that's why they're doing it. So I think most professional athletes look at it that way, where society looks at it and goes, no, those are steroids. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I have always just said, steroids on my own behalf. I come out and say it before anybody else does. And, to the point that it even turned into a little bit of a shtick. But it also, I wanted to make sure I covered my base. I hate when somebody does something wrong and then they start giving, and then you start to hear that routine.
Yeah.
It's like, no, man, I'll take it all. The worst possible thing you could do is a steroid. Just give me that one.
Yep.
Just paint me in that one and let's be done with it. But yeah, to your point, it is a little bit different. When the rules changed, and I never looked at guys as long as they were doing it above board too. I went into California. They had flagged me for it. I was at a commission hearing, and this is when it was still legal. And I was saying, guys, I tested positive for a legal substance. And they go, yeah, but it could help your performance. Aren't you aware of that? I said, well, guys, that's the only reason I took it. I wouldn't take anything unless I thought it would help my performance. But on page 3 of your rule book, by name in the legal category is testosterone, as long as it's disclosed. I disclosed it in writing, signed and dated by your executive director prior to the match, and I took it. This is fair game. And they're like, well, it shouldn't be. Okay, well, that's a separate conversation.
Correct.
It's fair game. And they gave me 6 months. I went, well, guys, it doesn't work that way. You either got to give me the full suspension if I'm guilty, or you got to let me go if I'm not. And it sounds like you think I'm not based on your own rule book, but you still suspended me. And that was kind of the beginning. The reason I bring up that reference, because a lot of guys saw that I went through that. So then they didn't want to disclose it. So
Correct.
Then you started seeing guys getting hit for testosterone, which if they would have just had the paperwork in place would have been okay. But a lot of them looked at it and go, well, yeah, but Chael had it all in place and they destroyed him. It'd be better for me to just take this under the radar and not tell anybody. It's like, yeah, I understand where you came to that conclusion. But if you go under the radar, you're cheating. If you come above board with the paperwork, you're not. And that distinction and discrepancy is very relevant. It's very relevant that you do it right.
Yeah, it was a gray area for a while there. And then, what's your thoughts on Nowitzki and USADA? Do you think they're too strict? Like, you look at JDS, who's tested positive for a diuretic, and you look at, certain guys, them pulling guys out the night before fights. Do you think it's too much, or do you like it?
Well, so you got to go one way or the other. You don't have any middle ground. USADA is on the correct side of this argument. There is an argument, though, and some of the things they test for, Brennan, none of us knew they were banned. I love to use this example because it makes everybody kind of open their eyes. But there was a girl, a Chinese gal, won the all-around gymnastics championship in 2008. She tested positive for a 14-year-old girl, tested positive for 1 billionth of a trace of ibuprofen that has a street name of Advil.
Oh, my God.
Nobody in their right mind knew that Advil was against the rules. They took her gold medal and banned her and her coach from Olympic competition. The silver medalist was a fellow Chinese girl who they were going to put on the stand and put a gold medal around her neck. She refused to take the stand and accept the medal because she said, this is ridiculous. I've known this girl my whole life. Our coach gave it to her for inflammation. And they go, well, yeah, that's the whole reason it's banned. It helps inflammation. It helps your performance. It's like, no, man, come on. Jesus. There has to be a level where we can make ourselves feel the best we can with an over-the-counter Advil and not be in violation. They forced her to take the stand. She was in tears the entire time and quickly took the medal off. So I do think, to your point, that is USADA too strict? Yeah, man, some of the stuff they test for, it's insane. Caffeine is on the list, and nobody's ever popped for caffeine. You would have to have 2 cups of coffee within a 15-minute window, then it burns out of your system. So if you were to come in and test me any morning when I'm pounding my daily coffee to get my day started, I'm going to pop for caffeine?
Bro, I'd be screwed.
It's like, come on, that's ridiculous. Yeah, everybody would.
The only time, literally, when I fought, if USADA would have been testing me, every single time I fought, I had 2 venti Starbucks in my locker room. I would down both of them before I'd fight. I'd be screwed, man.
Yeah.
It's so silly.
You'd be screwed. I sat in front of Nevada, and I got a whole lecture from them about knowing the rules and not taking banned substances. All 5 of the commissioners had a cup of coffee in front of them, and I was just staring back. I'm going, you guys don't know the rules either. And I'm not banning. I'm the one that did something wrong. But in fairness to my point, you guys don't know the rules either. And
Yikes.
if you did, you would know you have 5 cups of banned substances in this room, and that's ridiculous. They should not have caffeine on the list. Ibuprofen should not be on the list. My coach served a suspension and went very quietly. He only got 3 months, but for that same thing, he had taken Advil, and he tested hot, and they go, hey, you didn't even know this was banned, did you? And he goes, no. And they go, okay, well, we have to do something. We'll give you 3. It had already been 3 months by the time his test came back. They go, we'll give you 3 months. It's already done. Can't take Advil. But to my point, and it's not just Advil, and I could go on and on and on of things that are on this ban list. Anderson Silva, when he tested, he had one dirty, filthy steroid in his system, but he actually failed for 3 things. One of those things was a sleep aid that sits on the shelf right next to NyQuil. And I can tell you, as Anderson's opponent, if I find out he's hopped up on sleep aids, I'm all for it.
Me too,
Who
man.
knew that this Benadryl type stuff was on the ban? Nobody knew. And a reasonable person isn't going to take the time to check. That's another one they love to tell you is, well, it's your job to check. It's like, man, I get that, but this isn't even a medication. This is something to sleep at night. Come on.
So what do you do if you're UFC, Chael? Obviously, we talked about it being star driven. You got Conor, in kind of la la land right now. He has over, once the pay-per-view numbers finally come out and he gets that paycheck of, north of $100 million. So I don't know what's in store for him. You got Jon Jones out. What do you do if you're the UFC? Let's start with, and we'll get you out here on this one. What do you think's next for Conor McGregor? And then what should the UFC do about lack of stars?
Out of here. I'm just getting started, my man. Let's see here. So first off with Conor, so many of us predicted, because again, we followed the golden rule. What would I do if I was in issues? So many of us predicted we'd never see Conor again. I think his check's going to look about $115 million. And with the taxes and the trainers and the man, he's going to walk with $50 million. And most 50? Of us would never see 50. He walks
more than
with
that,
that's
Chael.
his money.
Go ahead.
What? Hold on. He'll get a check for 115. I'm saying with taxes, with managers, with everything he's got to deal with, he's going to walk with about 50.
Okay.
It'll be north of that, but you get the point.
I get you.
Most people would never see the bottom of that pile of money. He will. Conor likes to spend. More than making money, he likes to spend money. And I think he will fight again. I think he's a purist. I think aside from the money, he really does enjoy the sport. I also appreciate that he respects tradition. He respects the fact that the history of fighting says if you're 1-1 with an opponent, you go to match 3. That's what history says. He's already speaking on it. I think he's going to have Nate Diaz next. I think he's going to make about $10 million.
That's it.
Big, that's a fantastic number, but that's hard to do when you're making, you're leaving with 50 and all of a sudden you're going to leave with 6. But I think that he believes in it and he's going to do it. I'm starting to realize that with time. If you would have asked me a month ago, I'd say we're probably not going to see him again. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's the real deal, likes what he does, and is going to continue with it.
This is my only thing with that, Chael, is when and I agree. I think if he does fight in the UFC, which I do think is his next fight, and he fights Nate Diaz, that is the fight. I agree with you on that. I don't think you're going to see it as soon as we think, though, because there's no way that they can go, hey, Conor, yeah, thanks for doing that, man. We know you made north of $100 million. Now, here's the biggest pay-per-view of all time, you versus Nate. We're going to give you $10 million. He's going to go, you're crazy. You know how much me and Nate can go to a boxing match in Dublin. I'll make twice that, at least. And Nate's going to make way more, too. And then the UFC goes, no, we get that. And now you got to wear Reebok. And they're paying you $100,000, too. He's going to laugh at that. There's no way you can confine him to the current contract that you have him under and expect him to headline this biggest pay-per-view of all time. There's just no way. So there has to be some dispute there. There's going to have to be some give on UFC's part, not too much give on Conor's part because he's steering the ship. So I just don't see how they get this done without giving him some sort of the most lucrative contract in UFC history. I just don't see how they're going to come to terms right now. And then what's Nate going to do?
Yeah, and there's ways they could do it, Brendan. They'd have to break the current mold. Here, I'll just give you an example. Instead of doing $50 for a HD pay-per-view, maybe Conor fights are now $75, and that would find him that missing money. if those kind of things change and some of those parameters changed, and there is a lineage to that. There are certain boxers that do cost more for the pay-per-views than other boxers. Mm-hmm. There is a way to do that. They got to break their mold, though. And maybe you got to go back to Reebok. Everybody's saying, hey, we can't do it. We've got locked into a contract. And they are. That's true. But maybe you got to, fly out, sit down with the executive of Reebok and go, hey, I'm in a jam here. Maybe we got to refund you a little bit of money. But I got to let this guy wear, and then, fill in the blank. And Notorious Whiskey is probably going to be what he wants to walk out in. And so maybe you do have to change a couple of the things around. But, yes, if you operate in the current confines of the contracts and the way that the business is done, I mean, they do have a cap. There is only – you can't just come in and go, we'll give you $100 million on a show that's going to generate 90. So,
but those current contracts, Chael, I don't mean to interrupt you, but those current contracts were – those were done and published under – the same old elephant in the circus, and then you get this freaking sparkled Irish green elephant and they go, whoa. We don't have a contract for that. We didn't think he could get to that level. So I think the UFC and the WME are going to have to break the mold here. And, I ask you this, do you think they would give him a percentage of the company? Do you think that's a possibility? Yes.
I think that, I would not. If I was in their shoes, I would not. I'd want to have, one night pay and be able to be done and move on with my books. But I have to say yes to your question because Dana spoke on that. Dana came out in an interview last week. I trust that you saw it. And he said, I expect this conversation to come. I'm not going to shy away from it. In fact, I welcome it, but I'm sure he's going to ask for a percentage. And Dana made it sound like he's going to get a percentage. Whether that's 1 point or 3 points, he's going to get something.
I don't think we find out if he does. I don't think we find out what those exact numbers are because you're going down a slippery road now because, unless Conor's only fighting Nate and then he's done. But if he's planning to fight Nate and to defend the belt and fight a few more times, which I don't think is realistic, but if he is, then, if you're Tony Ferguson, if you're Kevin Lee, you're going, hold up. I have to fight this guy. He's making all this money. I'm fighting him too, but he also owns part of the company. Isn't there a conflict of interest right now?
There sure could be, particularly if they do get enveloped into the Ali Act. There would be a major problem there. But, let's just see where that all goes. I don't know how those conversations are going to end up. And then, what is Conor's shelf life? As we know, man, we've seen some big stars in all sports. You bring in Jordan into the conversation if you want. Big stars in all sports, but if they're not out there constantly, if they're not reminding people constantly why they're on top and why they're the guy, they do get replaced. So how many of these does Conor want to do? I think there's a couple of speculations here. First off, in his next MMA fight, we're all going to assume his hands are so much better. The other side of that coin is he spent 8 months focusing only on his hands. Did the other stuff get rusty? Is his next MMA performance not going to live up to the hype? I can use an example, a guy named John Smith from amateur wrestling, won the Olympic Games while still in college. Came back the next year to college. Now he's the best guy on all of Earth. He's got the gold medal, but freestyle, which he did in the Olympic Games, is different than what they do in college. He lost his very first college wrestling match. He was the number one guy in the globe, and he lost a dual meet to a kid from Nebraska whose name I couldn't even produce for you. But the relevance of that, of focusing on one, does take away from the other. It's enough for some speculation for me. I'm very curious what Nate Diaz has been doing the last 8 months. Everybody, Eddie Alvarez, Jose Aldo, Nate Diaz, whoever's example you want to use, they had a major opportunity in these last 8 months while Conor took his eye off the ball and focused on boxing. They had a big opportunity to be in the gym and close that gap. And if any of them sat around and go, well, I'm not going to do that until I have a contract, missed opportunity, big missed opportunity. So let's see. But there's speculation there. Can he beat Nate again? Nate wasn't Nate for part 2, and he's never told that story publicly, but he was not himself. It's enough to get me to... Right. Yeah, it was enough for me to get. Yeah, he was hurt. Didn't train right. Didn't feel right in the cage, and still it was razor close. I think we'd see that fight, and if they wanted to put a higher pay-per-view dollar on it, so that Conor could make $10 on the back end instead of $350. Man, I think that a lot more people are like me that are going to. Yeah, I don't care. I'm going to push the button.
Playing devil's advocate, is there? If you want to talk about Conor being a purist, and let's say you are a purist of mixed martial arts. Nate fighting for the 155-pound lightweight title of the world, does that make sense? Because he ranked 7 or 6, I think. If you're Kevin Lee, if you're the winner of Kevin Lee, Tony Ferguson, are you going, hold up, why is Nate fighting him for the belt? You know what I'm saying, Chael? Like, that's the fight I want to see. I'm all for that. If I'm Dana, that's the fight I'm making. But if I'm those other 55s, I'm going, hold up. How is he leapfrogging everyone? Because they fought at 70? How the hell does that work? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if I'm Nate, while Conor's off doing all his stuff with Floyd and he's focused on that, I mean, I fight Tony, so I'm rightfully, getting my place, and it makes sense that I'm fighting him. Or Nate might have played it well, and it looks like he did, where he just goes, I'm not doing anything unless I'm fighting Conor.
I hear you on that. I have been less resistant than some people to the interim championships. I haven't been as annoyed as many of the hardcore fans are with that entire ideology. However, I'm starting to get annoyed if we don't follow some kind of a process. Even let's use Bisping, for example. If Bisping, the champion, is healthy and ready, and Whitaker, the interim champion, is healthy and ready, they have to fight. The interim champion has to fight the current champion. And now they're going around that with this GSP thing. And that part of it kind of makes me go, okay, then I want to back you guys on this interim thing, but you're putting me in a position where I can't. You're making it a joke, and I'm trying to tell people that it's serious. Yep. So to your point, let's say either Kevin or Tony comes out of there with an interim title. Their next fight has to be against the undisputed champion, which is Conor, and they go out and fight. And so when you bring in a guy, we'll use Nate in this case, that is neither the champ nor the interim champ, it does kind of throw that off, and it makes it a little bit harder to explain. And they love that for marketing. They love to bring a belt out there, and the little old lady in Iowa understands it. I was annoyed when the guy with the WBC came up and brought this fake money belt. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, okay, first off, this isn't a money belt fight. And second off, if Mayweather wins and has another fight, the money belt is not on the line. Mm-hmm. Therefore, the belt means that. So that annoyed me a little bit. We put our lives on hold, Brendan. You and I are sacrificing twice a day, every day, giving up everything in the gym, punching and kicking at one another to win a belt. But that belt used to have some meaning, and I don't want to water it down. I'm a purist myself. I would like that belt to mean something, and they're starting to take away from it.
I feel like it's definitely watered down, because when you think of the belts, like, man, Woodley having the belt, does it really mean that much? Is he a draw? Or are more people interested in seeing a Wonder Boy fight or GSP to come fight there? You look at the belts and where they're at now, and how Conor's been able to bounce around, not defend any of his titles. To me, it's not about having the belt anymore. It's about being marketable and getting eyeballs. And I think that's what the UFC is focused on. And, I would be naive to sit here and say, I don't want to see Nate versus Conor 3 at 55 for the world title. To me, that makes the most sense as far as getting pay-per-view buys. But as a purist, and let's say you didn't know who Nate was and you didn't know any of this stuff, and you go and you look at the rankings, it's a tough sell, man. It really is.
Yeah, I fully agree. You've always got the fact that they are 1-1 to dangle over people, that part 2 was a split decision. I mean, you've got a way that you can present it, but I agree. And now here, let's go one step further, Brendan. So let's say that Tony and Kevin fight. I'll just throw out a name. Let's say Kevin wins that title. And, okay, so then Conor and Nate aren't speculated to fight until December 29th. Well, what does poor Kevin do? Does he just sit around with that? But does he get to fight somebody in between? And if he does, are they fighting for the Intercontinental title, to use wrestling terms here? Do they fight for that interim title? And then there's a new interim champion while there's simultaneously a undisputed champion. It gets really confusing. Or is Kevin just supposed to sit out until March or April of next year until either Conor or Nate are ready? That's where it starts to get really weird. Like, hey, I want to get behind you. I see what you're doing for marketing. I'm a team player here, but give me a way to go. Let's write a few things down. Let's get this clear on what this belt means and how it's going to be defended and what time periods. And we got to have some kind of confines to this other than just having a belt, or there's no point. It's
also very short-sighted, because how many fights does Nate have left? How many does Conor have left? Yeah, I would say the over-unders maybe 3 each, and that's being generous, especially with Conor. With Nate, I don't know how long he wants to keep going, but with Conor, I say maybe 3. That is a stretch, man. I could see one and done. Nate, maybe he gets a fat payday with this Conor McGregor trilogy fight, and he's out too. So if you're not going to, have Kevin Lee fight, or if you're not going to put marketing dollars behind Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje and all these other guys, you're going to end up in the same problem you have right now, where there's no stars for people to cling on, and it's very short-sighted. That's my only issue with it, because this was a two-part question. We kind of went off the rails a little bit there, but if you're the UFC and I'm looking at things there, all right, our biggest star besides Conor's out, Jon, what do we do? And, and obviously their answers, these are interim belts. I think, and listen, I love GSP. He was a training partner for a long time, but I think people are sorely mistaken if they think GSP is this huge pay-per-view draw right now. I don't see him versus Bisping being this crazy marketing type of fight. I just don't, man. And this is coming from, I do my live shows, and when I do fan questions, I'll ask people, what do you think of GSP Bisping? And I get a very lukewarm response from everybody. And I've been in front of thousands of people, and not once has the crowd go, yeah, not once, man.
Yeah, that fight does anywhere from 670 to 730. I think they believe it breaks 1 million. It just doesn't. It's just the wrong guys for whatever reason. I love to see Bisping fight. I love to see GSP fight.
Me too.
It's just got the wrong feel to it. There's no way around it. And I have the same focus groups that you do, where you just kind of go around the water cooler and talk to people, and I cannot get any excitement from anybody about that. They'll do the promotion, they'll light it on fire, and 700,000, that's a damn good number, but it's just not going to do more than that.
So what do you do if you're the UFC, Chael? Who do you focus on? I can see Kevin Lee being a huge star for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So first rule of show business, the show must go on. You just move forward. Don't forget Conor McGregor, his very first fight was like this breakout moment. People were talking to me about him. I didn't even see it. It was an undercard. His second fight, I was on that show, and he was an undercard. In his third fight, and everyone since, he sold out the arenas. He's never looked back. So a star can be made very quickly. Traditionally, it's not. It's a very slow build. You just keep putting people out there. Vince McMahon was in this spot. WCW came along, Ted Turner, $1 billion, bought every one of his stars, his writers, his referees, his managers, bought them all. And Vince had to start back over from the bottom. But he just kept pushing forward, getting guys out there, letting their personality show, letting their skills show. That's how you do it. It's not a wonderful answer if you're in their spot, but it's how you do it. And you keep pushing the brand. And they've done a really good job of pushing the brand. They had a show in Australia 4 years ago. They did not announce one single fight, and the show sold out in 22 hours. They sold every seat just on the letters UFC. Now, that's a very unique spot, but it's one they have found themselves in before. And you just push forward. You push forward and you hope for the best. And that doesn't sound like a great strategy, but it is the reality.
It's the only thing you can do. Really, it's the only thing you can do. You got to hope a guy like Kevin Lee goes on a tear, and because again, to get these superstars and these crossover kind of pop culture MMA fighters who people are drawn to, they have to have it all. You can't be, you look at Mighty Mouse, for whatever reason, he's not a draw. You look at, certain guys that they're just not these huge pay-per-view superstars. And it's this it factor, and you know this better than anyone, Chael. You had it. You were a pay-per-view draw. There's just something about where some people just can't get, the common fan to give them their money and watch them fight for whatever reason. It could be, their fighting style, which typically it's not, but it usually has something to do with the way they talk and the way they sell themselves.
Yeah, and nobody knows the answer. I was at one of those fighter summits, and Dana came in the room, and he said, we don't know what it takes to create a star. And I remember everybody kind of sat back going, you don't know, you're the puppet master. And he goes, no, we actually don't know. He said, we've got a recipe, and a lot of guys that have made it have a lot of the same things in common, but there is no actual answer. And, Brandon, I've been around the sport long enough. I remember when it was weird, when Chuck Liddell was weird. He got a grown man with a mohawk, and nobody wanted to see him fight. Then all of a sudden one day, he became the most recognizable face, and people are giving themselves mohawks to look like Chuck. You never know what's going to happen. The first time I met Conor, I'm going, man, you got an Irish dude covered in tattoos, wearing a bow tie. This is weird. Well, now that's really cool, right? You never know when it's going to work. Now he's selling those bow ties, and people are getting matching tattoos.
Yep.
You don't know when something's going to work, and they do have some guys with the it factor. Cody Garbrandt absolutely has the it factor. The poor guy's hurt. But you can bring a few of those guys in. I watched the rise of Gunnar Nelson, and people were getting into that stoic, quiet thing, and then Damian Maia made him look bad, and he lost some steam there. So you never know. The starting and the stopping stuff, Vince McMahon said when he was looking to buy the UFC, he was going to buy the UFC, and he was going to shut it down, kind of like the UFC did with Pride. and Vince said, he said, you can never create a star if you cannot control the outcome. And largely, he's right. The UFC has been up against this of who's our star and who's our next big thing from the beginning. Vince always knew what merchandise to buy because he knew who was going to be the next big thing because he controlled it. So it is just one of these really tough spots that all of MMA is with. And I'd like to offer this final thought to you. I really like the direction the UFC is going. Bellator's been doing this from the beginning. Scott Coker from day one, checkers player, not chess. What works tonight? Whatever's going to work tonight is what I want. I don't care about weight classes. I don't care about rankings. If people want to see it, I want to do it. I like that. Personally, I enjoy that. The UFC has been very disciplined in their architecture of specific weight classes and not making these other fights. We're starting to see it now with George St. Pierre going up. We're starting to see it with the fact that they were leaning towards Jon and Stipe or Jon and Brock. We're starting to see that the big matches are what they want to do. And if you operate in that vein, hey, man, there's room for CM Punk likes to come over and steal the night for one night. Yeah, I know, but there's room for an Andre Berto to come over for a one night but get a big draw and go away. There's room for that. Dana doesn't like to do that. He likes to be a purist that operates on a little bit better structure and architecture. I'm on the other side of it. If he wants to get away with that and start giving us some fun matches, I like to have fun.
I like to have fun, but also I think if you want to be taken serious, you can't have too much fun. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think you have to, it's a super fine line between being a gimmick and then being taken serious as one of the 5 major sports in North America. And once you start doing too many CM Punks, once you start doing too much interim belts, once Conor's not defending too many titles, you're gonna, I think you water down the product of being taken serious and you're more in the entertainment business as far as the fight business. Now, do I watch it? Hell yeah. I'm all about those crazy ass fights. But as a purist and a guy who loves the sport of mixed martial arts and the UFC, I think they're playing with fire. I really do, man.
Hey, Brendan, you want to know who would agree with you? Dana White. He does not like that either. He likes everything to make sense, be in categories, let's move forward. I'm just making an observation accurately that he is getting a little bit away from that. And the George St. Pierre's a fine example. The Jon Jones versus Stipe news that he dropped out of nowhere, that they were leaning in that direction. Fine example. So let's see what happens. But you're right. For a chess player that needs to be, 2 and 3 steps ahead of everybody, in the long term, I do agree with you that more of that entertainment aspect does water it down. There's a reason that the Super Bowl champs don't go and play the NCAA champs. They would do great business, and we'd all want to see the game, but it's a little bit weird. You get your pros over here and your amateurs over here, and everybody's got to stay in their lane. So I hear everything you're saying, but I do maintain that if they wanted to, for a short term, preserve some pay-per-view buys, there is some outside-the-box things they can do, and it looks like they're interested in possibly doing them.
All right, let's get you out of here on this one, Chael, because literally you and I could do a podcast for 5 hours. This is what we do for a living, for Christ's sakes, and I love you. You know this. This weekend, no one's talking about Mighty Mouse becoming the most dominant champion in UFC history. Why is that? I have my thoughts, so I'd love to hear yours. Literally, no, like when I walk around the street or I get my coffee or Brian's a casual fan, Chin, my producer's a casual fan. They had no idea he was fighting this weekend. And you got a guy who's going to set the record for most title defenses of all time, beating Anderson Silva. What do you think's going on there?
Okay, so Mighty Mouse himself was asked this question prior to his last fight, and he gave the spot-on answer. He said, the problem we have in my division is we have no a-holes and we have no drama. And he's right. He's absolutely – Mighty Mouse is a good dude. People don't want to see a good dude fight. They just don't. Andre Ward is a good dude in boxing. He also happens to be the best boxer walking on the planet. Nobody wants to see him fight. For right or wrong, though, that is the reality. And when you are Demetrius and you are the good guy, his spot is preserved. He is going to be a main event. He is going to be a title fight. So now the rest of the contenders have to imagine, okay, who gets to sit next to him? Who gets to fill that number one contender's role? And nobody wants to be the bad guy. And you can't have two good guys against each other trying to outgood the other guy for big draws. You've got to have a contrast. Mighty Mouse has the good guy seat filled, and he's locked in. So the only available seat is the Dick, and there doesn't seem to be anybody that wants to fill that. And it is just a tough spot for him. I like how they marketed it. I don't know if you saw the new marketing, but they came out and said what's on the line this weekend is history. And it's like, yeah, I really like that. That's a better storyline than Ray Borg versus Mighty Mouse. For right or wrong,
agree.
Ray Borg versus Mighty Mouse isn't doing it, but that storyline kind of got my attention. So it's just a tough spot that they're in. Mighty Mouse does his part, and when you do listen to so many people say he's not charismatic. Well, that's not true. If you listen to him, he's a well-spoken, thoughtful,
smart, fun guy,
good-looking guy. But he is, and he likes his own nerdy stuff with the video games and whatnot. But so do a lot of other people. He can fight like a son of a bitch. I mean, he's flat out amazing. But he does need that dance partner. Roy Jones was amazing too, but couldn't make a lot of money, and he was the fighter of the decade for an entire decade. He was on top.
Do you think it's that, Chael, or do you think it's because he's 125 pounds has something to do with it?
I used to think that, and that used to be the rule. People used to agree with me, but a guy came in and broke that mold and started to get some spotlight on the smaller guys, and his name was Oscar De La Hoya. He then passed that torch to a guy named Floyd Mayweather, who is sharing that torch with a guy named Conor McGregor. So no, that the days of nobody wanted to see the smaller guys are gone, and it started a long time ago with Oscar. So
Oscar was in 125 pounds, though. Chael.
Well, but he was close. He was in the 40s, and Mayweather's in the 40s, and Connor's at 145, and now 155. But, I mean, they're close. Those little guys used to get no traction. The light heavyweights couldn't get any traction. If you weren't the heavyweight attraction, you weren't a box office draw. But that's gone away. I really feel that that's changed. I know that's part of it. I just hear so many people say that's the whole thing, and it's not the whole thing. There's a little bit more to it.
That's fair. That's fair, because I was one of those guys. I said, in general, and I disagree with you on that when you say Oscar De La Hoya in the 140-pound and 147-pound divisions. In boxing, it's a little different. Your champions have always kind of been around there. It's been the most talented division, but they have had, great competition and adversaries and stuff like that. So that might be why they're so big. But when you're talking about a 125-pound man, and the other issue with Demetrious Johnson is look at the guys he's beating, though, Chael. So, Rogan me and him used to argue, he'd go, he's my pound for pound number one. I went, but who's he beating? The best guy he's beat is Joey Benavidez. He fought a guy 7-0 in Henry Cejudo. You can say, oh, well, he was a gold medal winner in the Olympics. I don't care. In mixed martial arts, that only goes so far. When you're 7-0 and you're fighting for a title, he's not beating the top upper echelon guys. There's just not a lot of competition for 125-pound males in North America or in the world for that matter. So that's why
true.
I'll see Jon, obviously, him with the PEDs, he's out. But let's say he didn't have those issues. You look at the guys Jon's beat and these legends and the way he's beat them. That's why he's my pound for pound number one. Just because there's a lot more 205ers in the world. There's a lot more competition. Where I look at Demetrious Johnson, Ray Borg, not great. And then there's a little bit of damper on this because they wanted to fight TJ, which I thought would have been his toughest competition besides Dominic Cruz. When he lost Dominic Cruz in WEC, I thought TJ Dillashaw would actually give him a run for his money.
Yeah, I agree with you, and and those are things to speculate on too. I'll give you an example. Demetrious fought Dominic Cruz, and so many people of recent years have said, "Let's get that fight. It's a super fight," and blah blah blah. And what people missed is that fight actually already happened. Nobody cared about it. Nobody watched it the night it happened, but that's only because we didn't realize what we were seeing. We didn't realize these are the two baddest dudes in the world. Conor has already fought Max Holloway. Now, if I told you they were going to fight now, whoa, what a fight. Two champions against each other. Well, that fight already happened. But at the time, it was an undercard, and we didn't appreciate what we have. So, yes, Demetrious' career is going to be like a fine wine, where if a Ray Borg or a Cejudo or a Benavidez or a Dotson could go on and do wonderful things, and then we could look back and go, and Demetrious beat him. But at the time that they're happening, I fully agree with your point. They're not great wins.
And then, all right, for reals, this last question, Chael. For reals. Amanda Nunes, Shevchenko. How do you see it going down?
I'm going to cheer for Shevchenko.
Really?
I'm mad at Amanda. I'm mad at Amanda
Why?
for pulling out of that fight. I'm mad at her for pulling out of the fight. She's tougher than hell. She's done some heavy lifting. I'm mad at her about it. I don't know that I have the right to be. That's the fan in me. A fan does not need explanation, so I offer you none. I'm mad at her. I'm going for Shevchenko.
And you think she wins by decision?
Yeah, I think she can outstrike her, which is, a pretty incredible thing to say, but I think she can. She outstruck Holly, which is damn near impossible, damn near blasphemy to even say that could happen, let alone to watch it happen. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with Shevchenko, but I fully acknowledge it's a great match.
I like Amanda Nunes. With a champion swagger. I think she finishes her this time. 3rd round, maybe late 4th round.
Yeah, she might. Her own teammates will say she has problems late. She's a real race car that comes out really hard, brings a storm, and usually there's just nobody left standing when that hurricane leaves. So let's see. I'm curious to see her in the later rounds, see if her own teammates are accurate, that she dies off a little bit, but she's good, man. There's no way around it. She's good. But I'm cheering against her in this one.
That's hilarious. Well, brother, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. I know you're a busy man. You have your own podcast, which I'm sure most of my audience knows, but if they don't, let them know where they can get it and what's going on, man.
Let's see. You're welcome. It's on iTunes and anywhere else you find podcasts.
Oh, all right. Is there any truth? Are you and Tito really trying to do this damn thing again?
God, I hope so, man. I don't know.
Come on.
If you're me, I hated that match was over. And I know what you said about it. You go, hey, come on, that one's over. You got to let it go. Brennan, I don't let anything go. There's no reason to let anything go, man. We've only got so much time to compete. Go get the matches that you want. I'm not backing off it. I'll do it 5 more times. And I got to imagine he looks at me and goes, dude, you suck. I'll fight you all day long, too. So I think getting Tito to the table would be a little bit easy. I'm already there. And I got to think, if you're Tito and you bitch me out in 2 minutes, you sign up for that one again. So let's see what happens there. But, yeah, I think there's a little bit of legs to it.
You still want to fight? You still want to fight in Bellator, too? Also, you had the showing with Vanderlei, which I worked, and you look great, man.
I appreciate that, buddy. I had a great experience that night, fun trip all the way around, going out there to the Garden and doing it. And I'm looking forward to what's next for Vanderlei. I'll speculate for you. I think they're going to put Vanderlei and Fedor together, which is fun from the Pride days. And I realize it's not the same weight, but somebody's guaranteed to fall down in that one. I like it. Bellator's got some good cards to play right now. Let's see what they decide to do with the chips.
I wouldn't be mad at a Chael Fedor fight.
Yeah, they were talking about that too, and then I had some major legs to Chuck Liddell. I really thought that was going to happen, and Chuck's in the gym. He's training. He's had meetings with Coker.
Chuck who? Chuck Liddell versus Fedor?
Chuck Liddell. No, versus me. I thought I was going to fight with Chuck.
Oh, I love that.
Then that lost a little bit of steam too. Chuck's still in the gym training. He's had the meetings, but he hasn't signed the paper, and it's like, Chuck, I can't wait around, I want to compete. Yeah,
no one's getting younger here. Well, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate the time. I know you're busy. You're one of the best in the business, brother. And I always give you love, nothing but love here. So appreciate coming on, brother, and taking so much time and answering 1 million questions, even though I said one more like 2 hours ago.
Hey, you're a good man, and thanks for all you do for the sport. See you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Talk soon. All right, Chael Sonnen, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like me and him could do a podcast once a week.
Forever.
Forever. Yeah, I could talk to the guy all day long. He's one of my favorite people in the business. Always has been. When he's a training partner, he's great to be around. And you know what he is? And I think people might be surprised by this. You will never hear him talk bad about a fighter as far, like obviously with Jon, the steroids, but as far as their character or, there's drama around the gym. Like you might be like, God, that guy was a dick. And Chael always has something positive to say, which is one of the biggest qualities about Chael because, if you're around an environment, people are shitting on this guy or doing this, you'd like throw your your bits in about it. Like, I think this. Chael was always so positive. And I remember just being like, God, that's such a cool quality to have, man. It's tough to do because when everyone's, pissing on this guy for this or this or this. I know it's going to sound weird because we just went balls deep on Jon Jones and how he's been a steroid user his whole life. But when you're around Chael, he's just a very positive person.
I heard so many stories about him helping other fighters out behind the scenes. I don't know if any are...
It's true.
Okay,
yep.
That's awesome.
A lot of it's true. I don't know which ones you've heard, but a lot of the ones that are out there are true.
I love it.
He's one of the best guys in the business, man. He'll always have a job, too. He's too damn smart not to. And he knows this. As far as him and Tito fighting, stop. Chael, stop. You, Chuck, I'd watch that. You, Fedor, I'd watch that. You and Tito, we've seen that. You stop that right now, sir. And Scott, I know you listen. Don't make that matchup, please.
Oh man,
that's messed up. He had some good points about Mighty Mouse. Like think how Aldo at 145 was phenomenal forever, and really he didn't get famous till Conor came around until he had an adversary, a guy who would build him up and dish trash talk right back to him and kind of make him into this bad guy. He has a good point there, but I still think the biggest issue is he's 125 pounds. And his example of Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather, I mean, you talk 147 pounds, 140 pound divisions from 140 to 147 in boxing has always been pretty stacked. That's where your stars are at, and there's a lot of competition that if with the comparison to Mighty Mouse, there's not a lot of competition at 125. They're also 125. 125 boxers have issues, even though there's better guys at 125. Like there's, as far as when I say better, there's more competition at 125 in boxing, 120 in boxing than there is in mixed martial arts. The sport's been around way longer, but it's still, they're not a draw. Should we jump some current events?
Sounds good. All right, the first one is about what you mentioned a little bit earlier. So Bob Arum spoke with ESPN Deportes, and he said something really interesting. He says, we have an enemy, we have a villain, and it's the UFC. If we all work together, we can beat the UFC, which is a sport that cannot be compared to boxing. He wants all the boxing promoters that might have issues with each other to work together to put on the best fights to beat the UFC.
And what does beat the UFC mean? Like beat our pay-per-view numbers or popularity?
That would make sense if he's talking about, both
popularity?
of it. Yeah, everything.
Well, listen, if this makes it so all boxing promoters work together and we get the best matchups possible, do that, Bob Arum. Definitely do that. You're not going to beat the UFC. You're just so goddamn old. You're so old. You look like a straight-up human tortoise. However, Bob Arum and Dana obviously don't love each other. Scroll down. Let me see what else he says. In recent interview, the UFC, they've done a great job promoting, but the one thing I've said, and I'll say again, I'll say it straight out. So look, the one thing I've said, there's one. And I'll say it again, there's two. And I've said it straight out, there's three. The fans of the UFC are Donald Trump supporters. Oh, the fans of boxing support Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, maybe John Kasich. So there's a difference. God, dog. The preponderance of the UFC fans are Trump supporters. White males who are desperately afraid that this country in 20 years will be non-white majority country. And that's why they're reacting. That's why they're supporting an debacle like Trump. And maybe that's why they like the UFC. Good God, this guy's so out of touch with reality. We have an enemy and we have a villain, and it's the UFC. If we all work together, we can beat the UFC, which is a sport that cannot be compared to boxing. I remember many years ago when boxing was a sport that received the same attention as the other major sports in the United States. There's no way that you did not have a boxing reporter work in every major newspaper. And with that collaboration on everyone, we can bring boxing back to the position that it deserves. Well, that's your fault, old man. That's your fault because you didn't let the super fights happen because of contracts and because someone was with Golden Boy or someone was top ranked or, there's these other promotions going around. You didn't allow the fans. You're the reason why Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao fought way too late. That's your fault. That's not us. That's not the fans. You fucked your sport up. You're the one that didn't allow people to grow. You're the one that holds the boxing community so close to your heart that when the UFC comes around and starts steamrolling over your sport, that you take offense to it and you point that UFC is the villain. Mm-hmm. You moron. Typically, the 18 to 36 demographic in mixed martial arts, that's the biggest demographic who likes mixed martial arts. Not Trump supporters, not Hillary supporters. Take all that out. 18 to 36 males, all right? Those same people would like boxing if you package it the same way, but you don't. You package it like it's a fucking whiskey from the 1980s. It's just it's your problem. There's a reason why Floyd versus Conor was the biggest fight of all time, and you weren't part of it. Think of his fighters. If you look at Bob Arum fighters, Floyd Mayweather paid him hundreds of millions of dollars to get out of his contract so he could do his own thing. He's killing boxing. I love boxing. You guys know this.
I don't think many people are going to listen to him because it sounds so ridiculous, the stuff he's saying.
He's a very powerful man. Very, very powerful man when it comes to boxing. Super powerful.
Well, it's good that this interview came out then.
He's an idiot. Because now you're drawing the line. UFC boxing, mixed martial arts boxing. There doesn't have to be a line, you old fuck. You don't have to have a line. Why are you singling the UFC fans out? Again, when you refer them as the UFC fans, they're Trump supporters. A lot of people go, oh, there's the problem with boxing. Fuck boxing. When you just had, again, he might view it as a Mayweather Showtime promotion. It's a boxing promotion, you moron. So when it's boxing, what's good for boxing is good for your business. What's good for boxing can also be good for the UFC business. So when you get Oscar De La Hoya, Bob Arum, who they're just hating on this stuff, you guys, you're really singling out these people who could potentially be pay-per-view buyers or buy tickets to these boxing matches. Or maybe they're looking for something else besides the UFC. Well, now you're shooting yourself in the foot. It doesn't make sense. And when you say we all need to get together, again, I'm all about boxing figuring the shit out, not having 7 different belts in each weight class. That'd be great. So if this does it, whatever, man. What else you got?
Okay, Sean Al-Shadi tweeted. He's from MMA fighting as well. He tweeted that Francis Ngannou was on the MMA Hour and says that after the JDS, drug incident, whatever that was. What did you say it was? It was a
diuretic.
Diuretic, okay. Ever since that fallout, he wants Stipe Miocic next. Ngannou wants Stipe. He's asking, is this a good call or too soon?
Way too soon. Good call. How can we market that? We know who Francis is. I love Francis. You guys know this. Met Francis in Vegas. Very nice man. Nice gentleman. However, that Stipe versus Francis does 250,000 buys. There's no Francis. Who's the best guy he's beat? Arlovsky. You'd have to beat literally a good name so you can tell that story. 5-0 fighting nobodies in the UFC is not good enough to get you to the heavyweight belt. It's just not. You're going to have to go through a Mark Hunt, JDS, Overeem. That's just going through the top of my head. Just at least those 3. Not to mention Kane's right there. Verdum's right there. Winner of Black Beast Verdum. So you need to beat one of those guys before you, and even just beating them 6-0, and that's your biggest win. One of those guys, there's a case for it, but even that's a tough sell. Now, if you go and you knock them out in the first round, you murk them. All right, there you go. You murk Mark Hunt, you murk JDS, you murk Overeem, Verdum. Then you got some. But right now, he hasn't fought in forever. He's not a draw. He's not a name. His English isn't great. It's a tough fucking sell for the heavyweight title. It's also a tough fight for Stipe. So then, let's say he goes in there and fucks Stipe up. All right, now you got a situation like they had with Amanda Nunes, where she became champ, and they're like, all right, what the hell do we do? It's like Ozdemir winning the light heavyweight belt. Oh shit, what are we gonna do? And then you got to figure it out. And I think Francis would do very well against Stipe. He would give him a lot of problems. You can't do it, man. It's not the way it works. They need new blood, but you got to beat, one of those guys to get to the king.
This reminds me, if this did happen, this will remind me of Yair Rodriguez going against Frankie Edgar, where he got.
It's just a little difference. Yeah, I can see why you say that, but the difference is Yair's so young. And he had way more work to do, where Francis is, and Yair at 145, there's a lot of guys he could have fought, a lot of big matchups he could have fought. And with Francis, heavyweight, everyone's so much older. Francis really hasn't passed any test of significance at all. And then to fight a guy like Stipe, it's dangerous, man. As far for the UFC. And he also matches up very well with Stipe, where Yair did not match up well with Frankie at all.
Yeah, that was almost shocking. I thought he'd do a lot better, actually.
No, sir.
Yeah.
What else you got?
All right. Max Kellerman, your boy, he admitted he was wrong on that one show, First Take, I think it was.
Yeah.
So he did a little spiel about admitting he was wrong about how good Conor was actually going to be. He landed punches, everything. Everything he pretty much said he he was talking smack on Conor about, he kind of apologized for.
So he put, this was the best version of what the fight could have possibly been. I agree with that. And I want to start out by saying Conor McGregor deserves enormous credit. He's an exceptional fighter, Even among champions, he stands out. And what stood out to me for Conor, the boxer, first of all, he's making his pro debut against one of the best fighters ever, and he's clearly on doing enough to stay in the fight. That's amazing. Even after the fact he went 10 rounds in his pro debut is amazing. Yeah, I agree with him. It's cool, man.
He did say that, well, Floyd was at the age of 40.
Yeah, that's why this fight's compelling. If Floyd was 27, it's a terrible fight. We would not watch that. Yeah, it's cool. He's giving credit. Like I said, Matt Cohen is my favorite boxing commentator. Analyst. Cool. What else you got?
All right. This story is about you. It says, Brendan Schaub claims Conor McGregor is steering the ship in the UFC. This is on BJPenn.com. And this is when you were on Joe Rogan's Fight Companion.
Here's your quote. Yep.
You were there.
Yeah, I'm like reading. I'm like, what did I say? See, Conor's changed the dynamics for everyone. Yeah, it's the same stuff. It seems, and I went over it with Chael. If you listen to the interview with Chael just now, you can't live by the same terms when the game is different. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, you had these rules in place, and these. I just stepped on my wine gums. You had these rules in place, and these terms in place for a standard fighter. Then you have this mega superstar, and you let him go do this, and we see what kind of draw he has, and now you ask him to go back and do this, and it's not happening. It's not real. That you're living in la la land. He has so much power now, and he knows this. The reason why he's in the position he's in is because he's not a stupid fighter when it comes to marketing and making money moves. The one thing he did, model himself after, obviously not outside the ring, but inside, is Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather took his future in his own hands when he bought his contract out from Bob Arum for $100 million, what the fuck he paid him, to do his own thing. Mm-hmm. Conor's very aware of this. He's very similar to Floyd Mayweather in this sense, where he can go, meaning he's such a big draw, he can fight anyone, he's going to make tons of money. So for him to be in cahoots with UFC and to live under their house rules, he's not 16 anymore. This motherfucker's 27, 28, whatever he is, worth $100 million. You're trying to get him to sleep at his parents' house. Rules have changed, my man. Yeah, he doesn't need you guys to drive him to the movies anymore with his girlfriend. He has his own yacht, son. It's just that it's just you don't live by the same rules anymore. That was my point to that. What else you got? And Reebok's a whole nother story. They need to sit down with Reebok and be like, hold the fuck up. If I'm Conor McGregor, hold on. Why don't I just launch my own merchandise on my website? Why don't I do that? And you want me to wear a UFC Reebok kit? And you want how much you say? Well, you're the highest paid. We're gonna give you $200,000 a fight, bitch. I just made $10 million wearing whatever it was, Corona on my shorts. You just say $200,000. I'm the main event. I'm selling this thing. No. Not happening. You guys got to fix that. Well, that's the rules. Those were the old rules. New game in town. New sheriff in town. What do you got for me? If I'm Conor, I'm saying I'll give you guys a small percentage. I'm having my team, my designers, and you can get it here.
Damn. If he does, like you wrote down, or they quoted you here, if you're McGregor, you make McGregor Promotions and you take it to Dublin and you do the poly boxing match. Can he do that right now if it's completely his promotion and it's in a different country? Can he do that even though it's part of the UFC?
I don't know his old contract, but with the Ali Act, they're going to run into some issues. Now, the UFC could time up in some red tape and it could get ugly. But being in Dublin, they went down this weird road, letting him fight for Showtime, and doing that. So I'm sure they're looking at all options right now. It would be insane to me is if you see Conor McGregor fight Nate Diaz and Nate makes whatever $4 million, Conor makes $10 million. That would be a lose-lose for both of them. And you're like, what? $10 million for a UFC fighter? I know it sounds crazy, and we have to change our mindset now. We've broken that ceiling. Now Conor made $100 million in a boxing match.
Yeah.
He's the biggest draw in the world. We got to quit. We're not that battered child anymore. We're past that, man. We've moved on. Forget that life. Now you got to focus on what's next. And for Conor, we got to break all those stereotypes. You're not treating me like this anymore. I'm not doing that. I have my own PR team now. I have my own merchandise now. I'm going to sign off on this. You're not selling that on this. I'm the captain of this ship. It's like fucking that movie Tom Hanks. I'm your captain now, bitch. And Conor's his own captain. Now the other guys have to follow this. Conor wasn't scared. Conor talked shit to the UFC. Conor didn't jump through every hoop they want him to. Remember when he didn't want to do that press tour? Remember that? The world tour? No, I'm not doing that. At some point, you got to just say, no, man. I'm my own boss. Now, you got to win fights. You got to make yourself marketable. But there's certain things people can take away from this, and we're no longer under that ceiling where, man, you guys get paid this, you're forced to wear this. Those days are slowly moving over. And it's because Conor went, oh, that's the ceiling? Where you're at? Right there? See ya. So now these fighters have this vision. Now you have a leader. And when I say leader, I don't mean as far as fighters' rights, stuff like that, but you have something where you can attain to where you don't have to do everything they tell you to do. You can control certain narratives here. Don't wait for the UFC to tell your story. Hire a publicist. If I'm Amanda Nunes, I do not let the UFC just handle. If you want, of course, I'm going to work with them. I'm going to have my own publicist over here who's going to reach out to these other outlets you guys didn't think about. It's going to cost me a little bit of money, but before I have a big fight, I'm doing that. I'm going to have my own merchandise on my website. All right, you want to sell those shitty fight kits for how much? Cool, man. Here's my official fight shirt that I designed myself and put in time. The rules are changing.
It looks like it.
And it's great.
Could it be bad? I mean, since we love this sport, but if it's going in that direction where all these fighters are going to be making a lot more money because they realize how much more they should be making, and then UFC still has this nut that they have to take care of, and then they have to divide this money a certain way, could that just destroy the UFC entirely?
I don't think so. I think UFC, the brand's so big that it's always going to be around. I think some businessman would come in and save it. I think, if the fighters get paid like they should, you're going to get more professional. You're going to get better fighters. You're going to get better product. You're not going to get guys complaining on social media. You're not going to see your favorite fighter driving a 94 Toyota Corolla. You're going to see them as professional athletes. Like you have this top tier guys, let's say the top 10 in each division are living comfortably. The top 5 are doing very well. And then you have your outliers in Conor and Brock and, Jon, who are making millions. But other than that, no one's really balling. Not like other professional athletes with their notoriety. They're not. So if anything, it's just gonna put us. You want to be a top 5 sport? Well, these guys need to be
true. Yeah.
Look like that.
Yeah, like NFL-ish. Everyone's driving freaking.
If you're in the
awesome
UFC, it's watching 10 years. If you're in the UFC, it's gonna be like the NFL. It's gonna be like the NBA. I'm sure there's gonna be some guaranteed money. When you make it, it's a big, big deal.
Yeah.
Like big deal because it's life-changing. Now it's not life-changing. Your work really starts when you get to the UFC. Like the Contender Series, which is great if you guys haven't seen it, it's on the Fight Pass. It's really good for young fighters. But then when you get there, it's not that you didn't get drafted in the NFL. There's no guaranteed money. Now your real work starts. Then you have to win probably 10 fights, and hopefully you sign a new contract and get paid. And when I say get paid, you might get 50 and 50, 60 and 60. You're living comfortably, but you're not balling. You're not at that professional level. Does that make sense? People go 50, that's $100,000. I know, but after tax stuff like that, it's nothing compared to actual professional athletes.
Yeah, I hear you. It might be the whole new evolution of UFC then.
Yeah, it's great. You need outliers like this. Huge. They change the game. They go, oh, that's how you run this race? Check this out. I'm going to do this. And people go, oh my God, that's so much better. You need that.
Cool. Let's go back to that Reebok stuff real quick. They introduced their new fight kits and something called the Legacy Series. You want to check these things out?
Sure.
Well, that's not it right there. But there's some
So
gear.
Are these the ones they're going to wear in the octagon?
I think these are just the fight kits.
Which is the fight kits, what they wear in the octagon.
Oh, sorry. So these are the Legacy Series then. What do you think?
They look exactly like the other ones.
I guess there's a mixture.
Claudia's undercover dime piece. I saw her in person. I was like, good God.
She must be super, super tiny, right?
She's small, very attractive.
So there's some of those there, and then there's also some here. What do you think of that T-shirt? And the Mighty Mouse T-shirt. Should I just move on to the next?
No,
event?
keep going. I'm just looking at them. I'm trying to take it in. Again,
I think that's the last one here.
I've always
shorts.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had my issues with Reebok as far as because the payment to the fighters.
Yeah,
the gear's getting better. You live, you learn. The gear is getting better. Powerful Stipe looking like a goddamn model there. The gear's getting better. It's continually gotten better. They've made their mistakes, and it's been a feeling out process, but it's actually gotten better. It has.
Shorts are small. Is that the style?
There's
now
different style, yeah.
Okay,
but if you want to fight it, you don't want baggy ass shorts. Just think the NBA. You want them nut huggers like John Stockton, son. They're doing better. I'm pretty sure they hired Boss Logic to help them out too, which is huge.
Whoa,
yeah, pretty sure he's helping out. My issue is the payment of the fighters.
Yeah,
it's the only issue I have with them. What else you got?
And plus, in the beginning, they were
so many mistakes.
Bad. Yeah, they were
so
bad.
So bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
All right, so you did talk about this a little with Chael too, I think. Verdum.
Fabricio reacts to Junior Dos Santos' potential value, says USADA's too strict. To a certain point, yeah, they are too strict because now, it taints JDS. And he goes, I think this testing is too much, too strict, Verdum said. I didn't have to be that much. It didn't have to be that much. It's one thing to take something to recover faster. I'm not saying steroids, no. What I say is that USADA is too much sometimes. It's too much. All right, bro, you're saying too much. I didn't need that much. This testing is stricter than the Olympics. I've never seen this before. I think it could be better. There are things that you could take that wouldn't affect your performance, but you would recover faster. We train too hard. It's just too much. Too much. Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, I'm thinking that now too.
It's a little too much, but at the same time, they're also catching a lot of guys doing a lot of shit. This is what you can't have it in the middle. It's either you can't have a gray area where it's like, sometimes we're testing something, like it has to be strict. And when it's strict, you're getting this. So you got to decide. Do you want too much or do you want the Wild West?
Yeah, so too much or nothing.
You pick, but we can't live in the middle. Yeah. You pick.
Let's go back to nothing.
You want Wild West? Dangerous, man. It's super dangerous. But as far as entertainment, listen, with the UFC, you want to throw these entertaining fights. You want the interim belts and CM Punks and the Brock Lesnar and all these entertainment. Well, then we got to go Wild West style.
When you say it's dangerous, I think Luke Thomas was talking about this before too, how, you still get, it's not like it's preventing any brain damage or preventing any certain injuries
No.
So you still get the same injuries. It's just maybe
it's way
harder, stronger.
Way stronger. And also, let's say, for example, I'm a grinding type of fighter. I'm like a Clay Guida or a guy who just grinds out, like a Stipe, a guy who will. Stipe's kind of a bag thing. He's knocking guys out like a Cain Velasquez. I just grind. I wear you out in the third, fourth round. You're not gonna have that power. Then I'm gonna start doing work. Well, if I'm on steroids and you think you're gonna grind me out, and I hit just as hard as in fourth as I did in the first, we have issues.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Wild West. If there's not gonna be any more, if you still get the same injuries. Why not just let everyone just do? I'm just messing around though. But yeah, it seems as though if you're not going to get any different injuries, you might as well just let everyone be on everything.
Oof, it's a dangerous road.
It's a silly road. Yeah.
Dangerous.
Sorry,
fine.
Road, man.
I hear you.
Nothing.
I hear you. I prefer too much than not enough.
Yeah. Fun.
What else you
got? This one I don't know too much about. So Tyron Woodley. Colby Covington has been on social media blasting Tyron Woodley, saying he's a fake champ, this and that. Even said that thing before with Dana White, like, I got some dirt on him.
Yeah, if you guys remember, sorry, I apologize for the yawn, but if you guys remember he, Woodley was like, hey, if Dana doesn't apologize, I'm gonna release these tweets that are going to be very hurtful to Woodley's career.
Yeah.
If you do that to Dana White, it's kind of a catch and save whole move on Colby's part. Colby's a phenomenal fighter, but that was super strange. I get it, bro. You want, good matchups and stuff, which he did. I think he got a great, but didn't he get a sweet matchup?
He had Dong Hyun Kim, but he's going to fight who next now?
He has a big fight coming up.
Let's see. Colby Covington. It's all Tyron Woodley.
Is on his Wikipedia. Oh no, he's fighting Damian Maia.
Oh yeah, Sao Paulo. Okay.
Damian Maia just fought for a world title. Now he's fighting Colby Covington. Shit, I ain't mad at you, Colby. Working. Shit paid off, son. I see what you did there.
But in this article, it's just Tyron Woodley responding to all the stuff that Colby's been saying, and he basically said that they train at the same area. I guess ATT, but I guess Woodley's not really part of the team. He's just there to train sometimes.
Yeah, he goes to Rufus. He's mainly out of Rufus Sport,
and he'll see Colby there, and Colby will never he'll never say anything or look in his direction or do anything. And then Tyron Woodley would literally walk by him and shadow box or whatever, and Colby would not do anything. So he's like, why should I even bother talking about this guy if he's not going to do anything in person?
Weird. So Colby Covington wasn't really in the gym at all, not even training. He was too busy on Twitter saying all this stuff, and now I'm in the gym. Now it's like, now where the talk at? Where are you at? Nothing. Silence. And the irony of him having to shadow box underneath the picture of me with a belt on was enough for me. If you're going to step up, be real. If you want to do your thing on Twitter, have at it. I'm not going to stop you. A lot of people think that's the way you have to make money. People like me think you just got to beat top guys to get there. If that's what he wants to do, I'm not going to stop him. I'm not going to debate him. I'm going to give him any attention. It's just really embarrassing for our sport that people can't just do it the old school way and just beat people. Fair point, but although Colby's like, say what? I got Damian Maia, man. I beat him. You're next. If I smoke him, there's a good chance I fight maybe the loser of Wonder Boy Masvidal. Like, I'm right up there, baby. Yeah, it worked.
And I would think
it's a tough matchup for Colby though. But
before I would say there's no way, but after the way he fought Dong Hyun Kim, and Dong Hyun Kim when grabs people, they can't get out.
Yeah,
he worked.
He's a little beast.
Should be a good fight.
That's interesting. What else you got?
Let's see here. Oh, that guy that we talked about yesterday, who was accused of robbing a bank on the same block that he lives on, the Bellator 180 fighter. His lawyer said he's working hard to clear this up, and then this guy, Da Silva, says, I'm ready to cooperate and clear up my name. So I guess he's saying he didn't do it.
Of course. I'm working hard to clean this up. I'm ready to clear up my name. Da Silva, who has a salty record of 6-9, fought on Bellator 180 card at Madison Square Garden. Third round submission to Matt Rizzo. And then he tried cheating on the scale. Yep. Yeah, what can he do? That savage tattoo should go over great in prison. What else you got?
Oh no, I was thinking of Darren Elkins. He has something called Damage. But it looks like the same kind of weird
it's
writing.
That rough, writing.
And I'm sure you guys talked about this already, but Chael Sonnen believes that Jon Jones cheated in 2013 when they fought, and then his whole career now is in question. But then he kind of covered this.
Yeah, we covered in the interview, but he's right. And, you guys know me. I've been the biggest Jon Jones dick rider. He's been my pound for pound number one for the longest. But with all this stipulation and speculation of what's going on with him and PEDs and steroids, how can you not question his whole career? It's a real bummer. Carry on.
Ben Askren, he's going to have his retirement fight, so he's going to retire now against Shinya Aoki.
Such a bummer, man. Such a bummer he never got in the UFC.
Kind of boring.
It depends what you like. Yeah. So, Ben Askren versus Damian Maia. Such a fun fight.
Yep.
I just don't get. I know him and Dana had their issues, and Dana said he'd never fight in the UFC. But a guy like that who's so good at one thing, that's fun to watch, man. How he's so dominant, and people can't stop it. Him never fighting the UFC, and I'm sure if you ask Woodley who would win in a fight in mixed martial arts at 170, Woodley would say he'd have his hands full with Ben Askren. I mean, Ben Askren is a monster. It's such a shame, man. It's such a shame the general mixed martial arts viewers never got to know who Ben Askren was. It's a real shame. He's such a talent. He's going to murk Shinya Aoki.
You think so?
Yeah, he'll destroy him.
All right, moving on from that. I wonder, Jake Shields pretty well, right?
Yeah.
Did they ever compete against each other or anything? Because that seemed like they would be a good fight.
That's a good question. They haven't, but that would be a great fight.
All right. Let's see what else we have. George Foreman. He says that Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor could be fight of the year.
I liked where George had that. He's been super supportive of
boys.
this.
Well,
he's been super supportive.
Good.
Fight of the year? God damn, do you see Joshua Klitschko, for Christ's sakes, George? I mean, hey, everyone knows I'm the biggest hype man there is for Conor and Floyd, but Jesus, not even I'm going that far. It's probably going to be hard to top it. Could have been fight of the year. Not only did he surprise Floyd Mayweather, he surprised me and a whole lot of experts because McGregor hit Mayweather often. His defense didn't work against Conor. He had to come out and fight like old boxing slugger, like George Foreman or something. Damn, he's third person himself there. Keep scrolling down. The referee protected Mayweather in one of his last rounds. Conor hurt him. He had him hurt, and he was going for the finish, and the referee stopped him for no reason. I stopped it. It was a vicious body punch. Conor had him with a good body shot, and the referee saved him. Yeah, you said that, bro. But that's typical boxing. I like it.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool, man. What else you got?
You want to do more? Or you want to get into the?
Should we just break down? Is this a 7-hour-long podcast?
It's going to be pretty long. For sure.
Should we just do the fights?
It's up to you.
Let's do it.
All right. Here we go. North Korea.
Shout out to North Korea. All right, let's just do the main card here. Some fun ones on prelims. We'll just do the main card. Okay. Gilbert Melendez, Jeremy Stevens. Gilbert Melendez, first fight at the UFC at 145. He's had, I think, 4 or 5 previous to this, not in the UFC at 45. So his first cut at 45, he's older. It's Jeremy Stevens, I think, second at 45 or third. I give a slight edge to Stevens just because he's fought there. Granted, he's lost his last 3 out of 4, but you lose to Max Holloway. He beat Renan Barão, lost to Frankie Edgar, then a split decision his last one. I would assume Stevens is the favorite. It's hard to bet against Stevens because, God, and also Melendez doesn't really get finished, man. I think he's only been finished. I mean, UFC 181, he got finished by Anthony Pettis guillotine. Other than that, he's a tough son of a bitch to finish. I don't like when a guy's older and he has to cut to 45. He hasn't done it in a long time. He's not used to the feeling. I think he's going to have his hands full with Stevens there. That's a tough fight to call, man. But because Stevens has done it before, they both need to win so goddamn bad. But listen, and I always say this. So if I'm a betting man, I would probably bet on Stevens. But I will be rooting for Gilbert Melendez. I can see Gilbert just out-wrestle him, get a decision win. But at 45, I don't know how he's going to look, especially being older. But I'll take Gil in the fight. Who you got, Jen?
I had Stevens in the fight, but now I'm 50-50, but I'll stick with Stevens.
All right, I got Gil. What else you got? Everyone's super high on this Pedro cat.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere, too.
Goddamn, he has powerful tattoos. Looks like a Moana character. I mean, Mert, Paul Craig, Roundtree, Warby. So he's only had 2 UFC fights, but like I said, everyone he's all the rave around the water cooler, y'all. And then Latifi, he got murked by Bader, but before then, he's had a good showing. I always like the new blood. At Latifi, he's as tough as they come, and obviously he's a trained partner of Gustafsson and all that stuff, and he's fought way bigger and tougher names. But I'll take the young blood in this one. I'm assuming Pedro's the underdog.
I didn't even look at the odds.
Goddamn, Ray Borg's plus 800. Pedro's plus 100. I like Pedro on that. All right, what else you got?
Your boy.
Ooh, Neil Magny dos Anjos. A lot of guys, when they go up to 170, it's a good move. But when you say that, you look at Masvidal, Jorge, you look at Cowboy, you're like, God, 70 looks so much better. They have so much success. Dos Anjos, those guys are those guys are taller too, so they're taller 55ers, lightweights. So it makes sense for them to fight at 70. What with Dos Anjos, he's just so small for the division. However, against a guy like Neil Magny, I don't know if Neil can get away from him. It's a 3-round fight, which actually hurts Magny. But in that second and third round, since USADA kicked in, I'm a little worried about Dos Anjos. You know, he had his win against Safdie in his first fight. You know, he was actually in a fight for the title. If Maia wasn't ready to go, they were going to give Dos Anjos, and this is quoting John Anik from his podcast, the Florian Anik podcast, is talking to Sean Shelby. He was going to fight for the title. He's going to fight Woodley.
Yep. I heard
crazy,
that too.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is insane. Dos Anjos just matches up well against Magny, unfortunately. I think, you know, with his leg kicks, Magny doesn't have a lot of knockout power. He has to rely on his athleticism, his footwork. I just see Dos Anjos closing the distance, getting those takedowns, winning rounds. And on the ground, he has a huge advantage on the ground, jiu-jitsu-wise. Grappling-wise, he has an advantage, and then power-wise, he has an advantage. Neil, with his footwork, his reach, I think he's way taller than him, way taller. 6 inches taller. Yeah. 10-inch reach taller, but Neil really doesn't use his reach to his advantage, which is trouble with a guy like Dos Anjos. I hate picking against my guys. This is just such a tough fight for Neil Magny. But again, what Dos Anjos do we get? Against Safdie, he'll look amazing at 70. I'll take Neil Magny by decision.
Cool. Next one.
Amanda Nunes, Shevchenko. See, Shevchenko's like, I call bullshit on her blaming allergies or whatever, congestion for her backing out. Yeah, sinusitis, whatever the fuck it was. She goes, I think she cut too much weight, didn't feel good, didn't want to fight me, not feeling 100%. There might be some truth to that, but I'll go with the champ here. You know, a lot of people talk about their old fight, Amanda Nunes, Shevchenko, where Amanda Nunes won round 1 and 2, and then the third round, Shevchenko came on like a banshee, definitely took the third round. They said if it went, 2 more, Shevchenko would have definitely won. I get that. That was a while ago, though, man. It was a while ago, and it was also, Amanda Nunes since then has done work. She's the champ. She's the champ now. She has the champion swagger, and also going to a 3-round fight. Like she did against Kat, against Valentina. There's a pace you set. It's just a different way of fighting between 5 rounds, 3 rounds. Amanda Nunes knows this is 5 rounds. I think she gets a finish here. I think she's the hardest hitter in the division. Obviously, we've seen that from previous fights. I think she's the hardest hitter in the division. I think, Shevchenko doesn't really have the power to get her out of there early. And I think in those early rounds, Shevchenko's going to be hurt. And I think Amanda Nunes wins via TKO.
I'm 1,000,000% on Shevchenko.
Are you?
Yeah.
You think she's going to destroy her?
I think this is her time.
Wow.
And I'm mad at Amanda Nunes.
You're also mad at Amanda. Oh.
No, I was upset.
Chael was mad. I'm not upset.
I was upset before.
I'm not upset. I'm upset at Khabib for eating tiramisu. Yeah. That's what you should be upset about.
I was. All right, so the next one, DJ against Ray Borg.
DJ Ray Borg. Listen, Ray Borg, he's very good in transitions. His ground game's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. He's won 2 in a row. All decisions. His biggest kind of, I guess, talent would be his grappling and his ability in the transitions to capitalize on it. And people go, well, DJ did suffer a little bit when he fought Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott's huge. And there's also, that was a weird, he kind of overlooked him, but Tim Elliott's a huge 125. Obviously, he doesn't fight there anymore. So, Wilson Reyes is a ridiculous grappler, and he got submitted. So, I think this story is more about Demetrius Johnson passing Anderson Silva than him beating Ray Borg. Obviously, and that's the way they're marketing it. So I think Demetrius Johnson probably submits him or TKOs him 3rd round, 4th round.
Nice.
That's the story. Oh. So I got Melendez, Pedro. I hate picking against Magny.
I got Magny anyway, so you can pick it.
No, I'll take Magny. So I got Melendez, Pedro, Magny. Oh, by the way, all underdogs. Nunes and Demetrius Johnson, which is a no-brainer there. That's the fight card. Enjoy Edmonton, UFC 215 this weekend. Kiddos, the Taz Mexican Devil. That's a great nickname. think that's it, man.
That's it.
Boom. Thank you guys for listening. As always, bigger, browner, badder. I'm Brendan Schaub. I will be in San Francisco next Thursday. Next week, Thursday, September 14th, San Francisco Cobb's Comedy Club. It might be sold out. Go check right now, tfatk.com. And on the 22nd of September, Friday night, I am at the Laugh Factory in Long Beach, California. So this coming next week, Thursday, September 14th, Thursday night, Cobb's Comedy Club, San Francisco. And then I'm in Long Beach, California on the 22nd. And then tonight, by the time this comes out, I'll probably be driving to the Comedy Store. I am open up for Tony Hinchcliffe on his last tour date at the Comedy Store for the Monster Energy Drink tour. So that's it, folks. That's it, folks. Remember that from Porgy and Pig? Super old school. Anyways, thanks for listening. I'm out.